Panthers fans have an insatiable thirst for Panthers news and opinions. Only one podcast roars ferociously. It's the C3 Panthers Podcast.
All right. What's up, Panther fam? It's your boy, Tony Dunn. It's the C3 Panthers Podcast brought to you by CarolinaCatChronicles.com. We got a little different set list of players tonight, but I think hopefully everything is going to be working comfortably. We got change of stream, change of host tonight, but it's all going to be fantastic because the C3 Panthers Podcast rolls on each and every week. All right, so right now, CK, welcome to the show. You're taking over for Cody. Cody 1 comes Cody 2.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
So at some point there is, I don't know why this is happening in the stream, but it says like there is like embed, you're embed. Anyway, I'll try to get that knocked off in a second. We also have Greg Schlager, listener of the C3 Panthers Podcast, coming in. The Bat Daddy 52. Welcome to the C3 Panthers Podcast.
What's going on, Tony? Glad to be here, man.
Fantastic. I'm excited to hang out with you guys and talk Panthers football. Shout out to all the people in the chat room. Hopefully I can get that stupid message off the chat board in just a second. But while we're here hanging out, we're going to be having a blast tonight talking about the Carolina Panthers as usual. I know everybody is scared and fearful after the Panthers fall again in preseason. Not a great showing, punctuated by Cam Newton getting injured. On top of that, potentially, you saw Luke Kuechly's wrist a little bendy up there early in the beginning. All of that is concerning, but I'm going to tell you guys why it's going to be okay tonight on the show. We'll be jumping into that. We've got a ton of calls on the Cat Calls line. The number is 252-228-5098. And we want to hear your input, your thoughts, and your perspective when it comes to the Panthers' loss and how they're continuing, what you think this means for the team going forward, and as we assess the roster, because things are changing quickly. So plenty to talk about. Go ahead and smash that thumbs up button, subscribe to the show, and be a part of it. We're here from we're having a great time. So here, Greg, tell me this. Let's just go ahead and jump into this question right away. Is initial thoughts about the Panthers' loss against the Patriots, Week 3. Where are you at after it? Just even keel, where are you?
Okay. To be truly honest with you, Tony, I'm not really that scared about it. I listened to a lot of what a lot of players said and what's going on. It's preseason still, and I get that it was bad. It was basically like a rewatch of the Super Bowl, which sucked. But it's preseason, and you got to remember, we were playing the Super Bowl champions. You know, these guys have been there 3 of the last 4 years. It's a good team to play against, to match yourself up against. And it didn't scare me that much. There were a few things that bothered me that I saw that I hope that we can tighten up as the season goes on. But I truly don't think that the Panthers show all their cards in the preseason. And I don't put a whole lot of validity into the preseason record, because a lot of times when we do great in the preseason, we don't have a great season as it follows. And a lot of times when we do really bad in the preseason, we tend to have a pretty decent season going on. So it didn't scare me that much. So
when you look at the record and the numbers of preseason games, I tend to avoid looking at, like you said, the outcome of the game, what the score is, and we're trying to evaluate that team on the field instead. Do they look sharp? Do these guys look well practiced? Are they strong in these areas? Where is their depth at? These types of things. So yeah, is that you don't want to focus on that, but CK is that these games though ultimately were kind of close in some ways, and that should be heartening. In one way is that you're in there, you're not showing all your cards like Greg says, and you are still hanging in there. But in other aspects of this, while we remain close and competitive, a lot of times we didn't see the things either that we had hoped to see. You know, you see Tom Brady out there slinging around, dialing it in, and you're feeling optimistic about guy 42 years old going into his, whatever, bazillionth season, and you're hoping that you see the Panthers look sharp on offense, this and that. And we didn't get to see those things because Cam Newton hurts his foot. And so, CK, is that while the score doesn't matter, what did you see that is heartening or disheartening?
Well, you bring a point up that, the sky isn't falling, right? And I'm not saying the sky is falling, and I agree with your point that we were playing pretty vanilla, as far as our offense and our defense for that matter. The problem is, so were the Patriots, and we still performed that way, right? That's the concern I have. It's not like we were the only ones playing vanilla. It was all around, and I'm hopeful that what we're going to find out is that our offensive line is going to mesh once they kind of get used to the rotation of what they're expecting with Darrell Williams on left tackle backed up by Greg Little and things like that. I mean, once everything meshes the way that they want it to, I mean, you go back to 2015, our 2015 season, they had so many different ways that they were utilizing the offensive line that, eventually once everybody got the hang of it, it was kind of smooth sailing for us. So I'm not sky is falling, but I'm also concerned that we weren't performing to the level that the Patriots were in the exact same situation that we were in,
You're listening to the C3 Panthers podcast. We're hanging out in the Vivid Seats studio tonight talking about the Panthers preseason game, but we have not yet to talk about the elephant room, and that is Cam Newton gets injured in this game. Thankfully, it's minor and never looked to be major. In fact, I think a lot of people, the sky is falling talk kind of surrounded, at least caught momentum because of the Cam injury. But if you look at it, and when the news comes back that he doesn't tear his Liz Frank or there's any tissue damage, like real damage here, we feel fine. Is his foot, basically got a solid cramp in it while he was there. But guys, how did you feel, Greg, when you saw that? Cam wincing and stretching on the sidelines. You're like, oh, it's cramp. Nah, we're good. It's cramp. And then he walks into the locker room. Heart had to drop into your stomach.
Well, with Cam Newton, I've noticed that every time I see him wincing on the field, he always walks away.
He's always wincing, by the way.
Right, yeah, right. But he always walks away. He goes into the tent. He does whatever, and then he comes back and he's fine. Like even on plays where it looks like he breaks his neck.
Yeah.
He comes back and he's fine.
It's like, that hurt a little.
Huh? Well, I'll say what initially happened, I wasn't scared at all because it didn't look like anything serious. Maybe he just twisted his ankle a little bit. It wasn't too bad. Then when I saw him walking off the field, I had the Greg Olsen fear. I thought maybe he broke his foot. I dropped a bowling ball on my foot a couple weeks ago. Ugh. It sucks. So I know
your feet. You need your feet. You need your phalanges. You need your feet. What I mean? They help you. Your fingers and your toes and your hands and your feet. That's what makes humans cooler than most animals. But you're right.
Is hand feet like monkeys.
Well,
that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, I said most animals, right? Yeah. But you're right. Is that obviously our fear when it comes to the Cam Newton's foot injury was compounded by the fact that we've seen Greg Olsen walk off and have a broken bone.
Right.
So as soon as it comes back, is that there's no worry here and concern to me, especially with the news that we get coming back from this, that there's no, broken bone. Everything is just like, look, is that a midfoot sprain? Didn't know that happens, but I mean, obviously it does occasionally. Now, CK, the talk afterwards immediately goes to Eric Reed jumps in and says, Colin Kaepernick, please. And I want to pull for it. I'm not opposed to it. But, boy, it was right away. Colin Kaepernick. No. How worried were you at that? What does this injury or this potential scare mean for you when it comes to watching those horrific quarterbacks? Thankfully, Will Grier looked better than the other. The Allen should not even be a consideration. He's terrible.
Agreed.
He's saved by that New Orleans game last year. That is the only reason he's in the position that he's in.
Yeah, but they gave us that game to mess up our draft pick.
Yeah, I mean, right.
That's the only reason we won that game.
But to answer your question, I think it's a two-tier approach that I'm going to take to it. First and foremost is I want to address the fact that the reason my concern really came into play was Greg Olsen came back on the field. Yeah, he was on crutches, but he came back. Cam Newton didn't.
Oh, we were sitting there like, where the hell is this mug? Where are you?
I mean,
you better be eating a tofu taco.
Yeah, I mean, the way I'm thinking about it, and Dev Boogie, we were talking on Twitter. He was saying like, "Oh, this guy's not falling; he's going to be fine." And I'm sitting here thinking, Olsen was even out on the field after he broke his foot. I mean, Cam has not returned. There is something to be concerned about. But the other piece is, Eric Reed. I get wanting to get your boy in here. I'm not saying that I don't want Kaepernick here for the reasons that I think most people who don't like Kaepernick don't want him to come. Kaepernick was on the bench before he kneeled, right? He wasn't playing good anymore.
He was hurt,
a good quarterback.
He was hurt.
That was what I brought up last week, was that we haven't seen it in a long time. He couldn't even win the starting spot before he even got blackballed. So.
It's not something. I don't believe he brings anything more than what we would get out of either Taylor Heineke, Will Grier. Definitely we would have a step up from
which is nothing.
Allen. Yeah, exactly.
By the way, that means I would say just for the cost, we probably can't afford at this juncture to leverage that much money on a backup quarterback. But let's not focus on the Colin Kaepernick discussion because it's one that's so it's just so baggaged. You know what I'm saying? There's so much weight to it that like we can't really just have a conversation of should we sign him or not. Right. Well, is that there comes with the more conversation of the signing. But let me ask you this in ranking your concern, or not 1 to 5 or anything, but how worried are you about the backup quarterback? I think it's a silly discussion to have personally. And I'm asking you this. I feel like I have to ask the question. I say it's a silly discussion because I just think like if there's no Cam, like, I mean, what are you really going to do? 8-8 with anybody?
Agreed. Well, real quick, J-Dub in the chat, he brought up a couple good points that after this foot injury, nobody's talking about the shoulder. I haven't heard a single thing about the shoulder since the foot injury came out. And he even said Vermillion, said that if it was a regular season, Cam would have kept playing.
I know he would have. We've seen him. That's the thing is when I said he's always wincing, he looks like this old dinosaur, like this crickety-crackety giraffe that's got to get up. And he looks like he has 70-year-old joints. And in between plays, and then when he plays, all of a sudden he just like exerts his lubricant, I guess, into his joint. It's just all of a sudden he goes from being, I'm hurting, to being the freaking man out there. All right. So let's keep going through this.
Let's rank our concerns.
Yes. Okay. Rank your concerns here. I think mine are less than most people's. So, CK, you start it.
If I had to be honest, my biggest concern, as with I think most, is that offensive line. I think everywhere else we were in maybe the depth at linebacker. I feel like maybe that would be a close number 2, but that offensive line was very porous. I mean, it was not. I mean, there was 3 series and Cam got sacked 3 times. I mean, there's an issue with that. Now, granted, I think Cam should have made a lot quicker reads than he did, and I think that leads to it a little bit. But that can't happen. That Manhurts let that guy come off the edge, Van Noy, and just ram into Cam. And
he didn't really let him though. If you watch that play, that dude jumped the snap count. Like I mean, he was offsides. Like I won't say he was offsides. It's Manhurts. I mean, when you say let him, maybe that's exactly what he did. Manhurts like wasn't even moving yet, and my man was already around him. Like he didn't know what was going on. Sometimes guys just make phenomenal plays. I don't know if that was it, but it was like, God knows, that guy was fast.
I will say this much. Christian McCaffrey picked up that blitz like a mother. And
he tried. He tried his best. He did his best. Here is don't rank your concerns about that dude. That guy's about to be the best running back in the league. That's my prediction. Is that Christian McCaffrey? I saw him on that one run. It was 3rd and 15. That's what it was. 3rd and 15. And we get he got 14 yards, dude. Just blasted Muggs. He shot up the hole. He moved through it. And you're like, oh, well, that's 10 yards on a draw. He got another 7 just by lighting Muggs up. I'm telling you, if that was the regular season, I don't know if I feel good about that. Go for it at that point. But okay, so offensive line, you said, is the concern for you. Ultimately, where do you think that comes from? Do you think it's continuity of the line? Do you think it's a specific player? It's hard to really gauge the line play at this point to me because I don't feel like we can do the things offensively we want to do to help them.
Yeah, I mean, we're not doing the motions. We're not doing the like you said, we're very vanilla, and that's the part of, I think,
it's just condemning the guy.
Yeah. And I get, the problem is that when it is just them and the guy, we shouldn't have to scheme to be able to have an effective offensive line. I think our offensive line should be good, and then scheming just makes them better. But I think it has a lot to do with them meshing and having the communication. I think Matt Paradis understanding. I think we're signing a veteran like him was probably the best thing we could have done in the offseason for our offensive line, because I think that's going to help bridge that gap where, we lost Khalil. But I think it all has to do with communication and making sure that everybody's listening to one another and trusting that if this job needs to get done, this person's going to do it, and I just don't know if we have that yet.
I'm not concerned about the offensive line yet, Greg, for this simple reason is that we have not done the type of play calling that can help them. You know what I'm saying? It's like, obviously the defense knows it's going to be a pass or it's going to be a run. That's what we're working on in those situations. The other thing about that I'm not exceptionally concerned when it comes to the offensive line just yet is I haven't seen individuals on that line that I'm just so concerned about. There's not, to me, the Matt Khalil on this line, to where, like, I don't know. I haven't seen it yet. I haven't seen anybody like, damn, that dude's getting beat like a drum yet. So, yes, have things been great? No, just yet. But I don't feel like we have a reason at this point to think that it's impossible to roll with. Where are your concerns? If you were going to rank your concerns, CK's with offensive line number 1, where are you at, Greg, number 1?
Well, just to touch real quick on the offensive line thing, I want to put it in perspective. Like I said, we were playing the Super Bowl champions, and, Bill Belichick's big thing is his defense. Like, that's what he does.
And they weren't that good on defense last year, and I feel like he was really trying to figure out if they had what it took. Like, he was trying to learn about his own team a little bit.
Well, but you got to remember, too, the last time this defense was out there that we saw them, they held one of the best offenses in the NFL to 3 points in the Super Bowl.
Well, you're right about that.
So, I mean, we weren't playing nobody. So to not have a great first setting with the starting offensive line is not that big of a deal to me, as long as they can gel together eventually. And Cam Newton does cover some of that up. So
I like that one play where he tossed it away early. You know what I'm saying? He got outside the tackle box. He tossed it away. There was nothing there. I felt like he made, good decisions. The ball looked accurate when he was throwing it. The other thing is, do you think there's any credence before we move on to your, I guess, concern when still on the offensive line? Everybody's upset that Cam didn't throw it away. I don't think that this is a legitimate argument. And the reason I would say this is that should Cam have gone down is the question. Like, you can't say throw it away, because you can't throw it away when you're standing in the pocket and not get a penalty. So if he throws it away and he gets a penalty, be like, duh, Cam, you don't know what you're doing, this and that. I think the more realistic thing, or the correct thing, would be is just take a knee, like do the Eli Manning crumple. But I mean, it didn't look to me. Where are you at with Cam, I guess, on that play where he was injured?
Man, it was just a fluke, to be truly honest with you. It didn't look like it was any kind of contact. It didn't look like there was anything that he could have done otherwise to stop it from happening. It's just one of those things. It's like when somebody, tears their Achilles or tears their ACL when they get hit. It just happens, that is part of football injuries. Luckily, verified by Ron Rivera today. He's definitely going to start week 1, so he's out of a walking boot today, or not. Well, Monday, I guess. He was throwing today, so as far as I understand, he should be good to go. I'm not too concerned with that play.
Were you upset? I guess my ultimate question here is this: is that there's all this talk about whether the preseason matters. Should we be playing people, this and that? I don't feel like Cam was over fighting. I don't feel like he was over fighting. So for people that are like, I saw Steve Smith break his leg in a preseason game one time. He was over fighting. He was trying to do Steve Smith crap. Yes. Was Cam Newton kind of dancing around and doing this? I don't think it was overboard. But I don't think it was overboard to the fact that, like, gosh, like, Cam, you're putting yourself out there. He was just actually, he never touched anybody.
Right. Well, if you go back and look at it, it looks like he's kind of running for his life. Mm-hmm. Like he's scrambling around everywhere. That wasn't really his fault. He was just trying not to get, mollywopped.
And that's what he does, man. Like, he can dance in this. It's like Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather can fight in a phone booth, man. Just real tight and close. But, all right, so now that we've talked about that, where's the concern at for the team?
One of my biggest concerns was going to be the secondary. I know this sounds weird, but I was watching that game, and every time we would get them in a position where we could have got the ball back or we could have stopped them right there, we played that stupid zone defense, and they were picking our zone defense apart. And every time I was like, stop playing zone. And every time they did it, and every time they got picked apart. When you play zone against a good quarterback that has a little bit of time, it's never going to work. Well, not never, but
it's tough.
It doesn't work as well.
It's tough to pick Brady apart. It's tough to do that. The only way you can do it is when your front is getting that crazy pressure.
Right.
And they can get that crazy pressure, but when we're really not bringing everything we want to. And guys aren't playing. That's just not what is going to happen. So you don't get the pass rush and the thrust there. For me, and we'll kind of move on after this because I think we're ranking a lot of it, and because we're going to come back to old Gano and his crazy leg. But I actually think special team. Actually, I'm going to umbrella it. Special teams to me is a concern right now. We have Graham Gano, who is missing in action, the mysterious injury of Graham Gano. I don't even like Graham. I'm like one of those, I don't feel like I dog on players unnecessarily, but when I do dog on a player, I do dog on him unnecessarily. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't just use it, but when I get on it, it's like a dog with an itch, man. I'm going to stick with it. And Graham Gano has been one of those guys that I just committed to. He's just not my dude. He's not the guy I'm going to fight for. And Graham Gano is mysteriously injured. Whatever is going on with his leg, we don't know. We also know that there's been questions about his performance with the team. In the past, he was neck and neck with Harrison Butker. We really missed the opportunity at that point 3 years ago to move on from Graham Gano. Instead, we extend him up and down since then. He's up and down. He will make a 63-yard field goal and then miss a damn extra point right after. So there's these question marks around that. And then add to it, our punt return game again stinks.
Yep.
And I want to like the Godwin guy. I want to like all of them, but he doesn't look reliable right there. He's nervous back there. And right now, kicking and returning kicks, not so good.
Yeah. My concern, I'll be honest with you, is not necessarily about the return game, because if you look at the Bears, we were averaging 40 yards per return. I mean,
he's great if he catches it, but it looks uncertain that he's going to catch it every time.
But it's a matter of confidence, I think, and I agree on that point. I am more detrimentally concerned by the fact that every time the Patriots got the ball, they were able to get a punt return of 40 yards and have the incredible field position. My concern
that one dude, did you see that one guy hurdle and dive? I felt like, that white guy for the Patriots,
and he got
man,
like 15 yards out of it.
He's gonna get planted when he's in the air.
He is. Do that a couple more times, bro. Yeah, do that a couple more. That shit is not gonna work. I tell you that. I was like, oh god, that. I thought my man was about to die. I really did. I was like, oh, he about to die right here. All right. So the concern right there. Oh, all right. So in continuing to round out that concern on special teams, no concern on Mike Pilardi. Dude can boot the shit out of it all the time. He's amazing. And if I have to hear, Mick Mixon loves the direction of Mike Pilardi's punts. Oh, he does. I like Mick Mixon. I ain't gonna lie. So for me, it's somewhere in that that special teams component, because we just tend to forget every year that we have been good. And any team, I feel like, has been exceptional. They have been better than average on special teams. But think about how many wonderful games in the NFL have been changed by that dynamic. You know, and if you got a guy who's fielding punts, we just are never comfortable without Ted Ginn. That's the problem. I hate freaking Ted Ginn, but my man can catch a punt. He can't catch a pass to save his freaking life, but he can catch a punt, and I'm worried a little bit about Godwin back there. The confidence issue, I don't know if we got it solved, Greg.
Yeah. Well, you know, the thing is, real quick, Tin Tizzy in the chat, where did I find it at? He says that he called the Gano going on IR a long time ago, and that Sly's going to steal his job. Or, Sly's going to steal his job, and I agree. You know, Graham Gano's good. He's been there for a long time, but you know, Sly's 6 for 6 in the preseason. He kicked a 55-yarder that could have cleared 60 easy. So I think Sly's going to take that job. I hope he does, at least in my opinion. But with the Panthers, the entire time I've watched them, we've never been a strong special teams. Like, we've never been strong at returning punts, returning kickoffs.
Not since Steve Smith was doing it. Not since Steve Smith was doing it. Maybe a little bit with Ted Ginn. I'm trying to think. But even then, it wasn't great, you know. And I think you can make up for a weak special teams if you have a good turnover ratio. If you can have a defense that has a lot of turnovers, you can make up for that special teams or that lacking. You can't lose yardage on those, and you really do. There's a lot of respect, CK, when you hear analysts. Just listen to it. Mark my words. Take your notes, C3 listeners, on this point. It's just listen to subtle comments from people that have been in the game, that are calling games, when it comes to guys who don't fair catch everything.
Right.
You know, there is you go get it, then you go after it. There's a certain hero moment there that dudes appreciate. CK, we have not been there at this point when it comes to that, is that we don't have a guy that we feel super confident with. And this has been the bane of existence for any team that the Panthers have had a lot of talent on. They haven't done well. We lose Ted Ginn in, I think, 2014, and we stink. And special teams is a problem. Philly Brown's out there doing this and that and this and that. Brenton Burson's fumbling crap, I think, against the Bears. And then in 2015, Ted Ginn, that was his game. How do we solve this problem, Cody? Can you go into this season with Terry Godwin and just be like, this is our dude?
I don't think at this point in time we're going to do anything other than have him as our
all right, center. Go get him, brother. Fucking wet behind the ears. Just suck it up, Buttercup.
I mean, it's unfortunate, but it's the truth. I just don't see a situation where we aren't where we're going to let him go. I mean, let's be honest. I think he's got a lock on that 6th wide receiver spot. I just don't know what to expect. I mean, outside of something crazy like getting Ginn back or something like that, I think that Terry Godwin's just got to get his feet underneath him, and I think he'll
go get him.
We'll have. I mean, you got to remember, it's a learning curve for some of these guys, and Steve Smith wasn't the greatest, rookie at first, but I mean, he came out and he.
Well, he was. Yeah, he was. He returned his freaking. Yeah. All right. Well, we need an answer back there. So that's our concerns right now. We've gone from offensive line to Greg. What was yours one more time?
The defensive back secondary.
Yeah. Question. And we still have to ask: is Eric Reed a dirty player? What is going on with that? I hating to say those words in a sentence when you're talking about your own player, but we will talk about that penalty. Mine is when it comes to special teams here, but guys, You're listening to the C3 Panthers podcast, brought to you by CarolinaCatChronicles.com, and we're hanging out tonight in the Vivid Seats studio. Look, go ahead and use the promo code OVERTIME in the Vivid Seats mobile app to save up to $100 on all ticket purchases. First-time customers only. So we get that plug in, and guys, now we've got to also guilt and shame the audience. I didn't notice this until someone in the chat room said, "What's up? Only 16 thumbs up." And then I flipped over to the stream. There's 51 people watching live right now, folks. Smash the thumbs up button. Subscribe. Thank you, though, Susan Deans, for the wonderful donation, but also thank you, every one of you, 51 of you, for your time. Actually, 50 of you, because one of those is probably me. 50 of you for your time and your attention. That's fantastic. Wonderful to hang out with you on a Tuesday night. Guys, I think we should jump into the cat calls where we let homeboys hang out with us and talk. The number's 252-228-5098. That is 252-228-5098. You can be a part of the show. Call any time of the day and leave a message. You got your 3 minutes to be on the show. Let's see what you guys got tonight.
So what are your thoughts on
Real quick, Tony, before you start that, I want to throw one thing out there.
Go ahead.
Why do we not put DJ Moore returning punts?
Ooh.
That man is the best with the ball in his hands and open field. Why is he not returning punts?
Because he had well,
Redskins game last year.
Yep, that's it. You said it, CK. You said it. Redskins game. That's
Okay.
it. That's it. And you know what? It shouldn't be, but it is. All right.
Okay.
That's it.
Cat calls.
So what are your thoughts on catcalling?
Yeah, it's pretty. You shouldn't do that to somebody.
And how did that make you feel?
Very uncomfortable.
So how do you think catcalling makes the person feel?
It feels good, like.
Who's that cat sitting in the back corner with his face buried in his nose?
I bet you it's going to be CK.
In a world where we have no backup quarterback. Hey guys, it's Cody from Roanoke. Sorry, just figured I'd throw a little bit of fun in there. Thursday morning before the Patriots game, listening to the wrap up of the podcast from Tuesday. One of the questions one of the people had, I can't remember his name now, forgive me, was about not seeing highlights from DJ Moore. And I thought about that. That's something that I had been concerned with as well until you realize they haven't shown any highlights from Christian McCaffrey either, right? So, I mean, I think it may be almost this sleight of hand. Not saying that Curtis Samuel's not good. I think he is. But I think they're trying to put all the attention on him to allow there to be some sort of a free-up of DJ Moore. I mean, at least maybe I'm getting too deep in the conspiracy theories, but that's what it feels like, right?
I will ask. I'm going to ask this guy all about this question.
From the stars, either.
I got to be honest with you, Tony. I can't hear the cat
There's
calls.
almost this feeling like our team knows how good they are.
Hopefully, ask the people if they can.
And the coaches know how good they are, but they're not going to tip their hand.
Yeah, I just turned on the
realizing
YouTube
how good we are,
and I could
so
hear
that
the cat
they
call.
come
I heard
in
the first like
expecting
15
something
seconds
way
because there's a delay.
below
I
what
wasn't
we're
able to get all
You
the
guys
way
can't
through
hear
it.
it?
you know,
No,
once
I can't
again,
hear, but that's a good idea. I'll turn on the
these
YouTube call. I'll be a little
psychological
behind, but I
things
can
where
hear
you
it
go
that
all
way.
day and
So,
say this is possible, this might be happening, this might be
Just had to hit
happening,
mute
but
on- yeah, I
and
did
nobody
mute on my
really
hangout,
knows.
so I wasn't.
We'll find out, I guess, So, Tony, you wanted me to call after I was at the Bills game last week, and I completely split my mind. We left about halfway through. I was so bummed when they didn't have any of the starters, really, aside from Curtis and DJ Moore out there, and they weren't out there very long. So I'm really excited to see that tonight. Susan, Dean, thanks again for the experience. Loved it. Tony, you're going to have a blast on week one. I already said that. But anyway, guys, I guess tonight just going to be looking to see how Cam holds up with that throwing motion with the actual real threat of pressure and everything. If he keeps it together and can still be Cam, I think we're in good shape with him moving forward for the rest of the season, guys. Optimistically, as long as he can stay healthy. That is a big caveat.
All right, I'm cutting you off. Good guys, CK. CK, can you hear me now? Greg, can you hear me? Nobody can hear me. All right, so I changed my microphone. Wrong one, obviously. Yo, can you guys hear me?
I can hear you. Yes.
I can hear you.
All right, can you hear me now? All right. So you couldn't hear the call, but the call was CK. So I'm going to ask you this, CK. Can you answer your own call?
You have to remind me on what I was saying.
I don't even know what you're saying. It was going on for and ever and ever and ever, but we're worried about this quarterback. Let me ask you this. Can you hear this?
So what are your
Can you
thoughts
hear
on
this now?
catcalling?
Yeah, it's pretty. You shouldn't do that.
Oh,
I can hear it now.
You can hear it now. Okay.
I can hear it now.
This is the beginning of your call to refresh your memory. And
So what are your
sorry,
thoughts on
everybody who
catcalling?
I had to listen to it.
The wrap-up of the podcast was about not seeing highlights from...
Oh, that's what it was. The question was about highlights from DJ Moore. Sleight of hand. Do you still feel this way? You were saying this is ultimately that do not be concerned about DJ Moore because we're not concerned about Christian McCaffrey and we don't hear about him. And I think that's a great argument. And I would say this is I'm not concerned about DJ Moore, but Cody, why is my man not returning punts?
Redskins.
Yes. Oh my gosh. But why? Yeah, I think that is legitimate. It's like, why not? He is good with the ball in his hand. I think this. So now you come in there, you say you're feeling good about these guys. DJ Moore has been he was in there in that game. He tried to pull away. Didn't he have that game that play early in the game where he was trying to do that move that he did early in the season last season and got away from a tackle? But that dude was holding on to his leg. I was like, if that dude twists his knee right now, I was so scared. Do you guys remember that play?
Yeah, I do. Because I saw him. He was so close to getting that first down. If that dude hadn't had a hold of his leg, it would have been lights out at that point. But
all right,
yeah, it was an incredible play.
We're gonna move on. We're gonna move on to the next call, and maybe you can hear this. And I bet you it might even be you. I don't even know. Here it comes. Let's see. And tell me if you guys can't hear it.
Hey guys, what's up? It's Nick, aka 7 O'Clock Crawlers. Just checking in from Foxborough. Man, that was a tough game to watch. You know, I was really hoping that we would do a lot better, especially with the starters. It's real tough to see us go 3 and out on a lot of plays. You know, and the fact that we couldn't make it past the 50-yard line for a vast majority of the plays, that really hurt. Me personally, I think Will Greer, that's the end. You know, it's in week 2, he followed the receiver way too much with his eyes, and it was really easy to
I
pick him
love
off.
that.
Seemed like he did a little bit better as far as watching those eyes, but it was tough to tell from where I was sitting. But man, it was real disappointing. Another thing I wanted to point out was I didn't see Cam on the sidelines. And I know that usually tries to hype everybody up, but I didn't see him at all. Maybe it was just because of my seat that I didn't see him, but would love to hear you guys' thoughts. So, Cody, can't wait to have a beer with you when me and Josh come down from Mass. Tony, you're more than welcome, man. Add me on Facebook, guys. Nick Montero. I'm friends with Josh. So, talk to you guys soon. Keep down.
You got it, brother. All right, so we talked a little bit about not seeing Cam on the sidelines. He was trying to hype dudes up after the 3 and out in the beginning. I think the ultimate answer to that call about when it comes to Cam is that we have seen him kind of happy and jovial on the sidelines at practice. You know what I'm saying? Like he's joking around when they're coming in on the court. He's doing the Forrest Gump wave. He's out there doing some things in practice while he's not participating just yet. I think it's clear. Does anybody actually feel like this was my concern? And I'll start with CK. I was really worried when they came out and they were talking about the foot and it's not this and it's not that. Does anybody have the concern when you're talking millions and billions, millions of dollars of revenue of all this coming in? You hear the clamoring of Trent Williams claiming that the Redskins staff botched his medical stuff. I was worried, man. I almost needed a full 48 hours after they said it was just a sprain to feel like I believed their news. Was there? Does that make sense at all? Is that like that I was concerned about what the press release really meant?
Not to bring up, something that has nothing to do with us, but I think after what's happened with Andrew Luck, I think we all have the right to be concerned until we see him back on the field playing at the capacity that we know he's capable of. So, I think at this point in time, if you have a injury-prone quarterback, which I wouldn't say Cam is, I think you're always going to hold your breath until you know without a shadow of a doubt things are going to be okay. So.
Greg, in lieu of, what's his name? Hold on, for Andrew Luck. In lieu of Andrew Luck, I mean, we're actually, should we talk about that just for a quick moment? Is that Andrew Luck mysteriously, after all of this, retires. We have this vendetta against him personally. I admit I have a personal vendetta against him because he broke up with us before we ever asked him out. When it comes to drafting him, we got Cam Newton. Thank you. I married a more beautiful woman in the end, is the way I feel about it. But a lot of things going around that. Cam goes down. You hear this about the coaching. You just wonder for a second. I was nervous. Where you at on the Luck thing a little bit?
Well, no, I agree with you with the whole the 2 days afterwards not really feeling right about it and kind of feeling unsettled about it, because when it comes to sports, you got to realize that these executives and these training staffs and coaches, they're playing a game of chess. You don't want to reveal all your cards. You don't want to let your moves go. You don't want people to know what's going on with you because you're game planning. Other people are game planning against you. And to a certain extent, sometimes they don't know exactly what's going on. And Andrew Luck is a perfect example. Kevin Durant, I hate to bring in a different sport, but Kevin Durant, same kind of way. And I think that really sparked a lot of things, especially with the Kevin Durant thing. I was the same kind of way. Even when he walked off of that boot and they said that the next day that he was going to be, it was just a foot sprain, he's going to be okay. Until I saw news today that he was in practice throwing, I was kind of uncomfortable. As far as Andrew Luck goes, that's a crazy situation. My best friend is a Colts fan, and I was actually eating dinner with him the other night, and we were at dinner. And that's when that happened. And he just held his phone up and showed it to me and said, please tell me it's not true. And I looked up ESPN.com and NFL.com, and yeah, it was true. I don't know what to think about what training staffs and coaches say about injuries, because I don't feel like I can trust them, because I feel like they're going to tell you what they need to tell you to sell to you what they want to sell to you.
But the player is also complicit in that. I mean, they have a voice. They have a voice in this process. Now, when it comes to Luck thing, this guy sent me a this is terrible. Is that, because you are, and here, I hate to segue this to a fantasy football discussion, but I always like my fantasy football drafts to be late, so that when people get injured in week 3 or whatever, I think it's just better to draft closer to the end. You don't want to pick Lamar Miller or obviously things like now with Andrew Luck. And then O.J. Simpson puts out a video that says, oh, damn, Andrew Luck, you just retired. And this guy I know who's really very snarky on Twitter. It's funny. We argue all the time. We hate each other. We're nemesis. But he's funny. He said, run, Andrew Luck. Hobble out of there. Whatever you got to do. OJ's upset that you. I was like, I about died. All right. So, still more to talk about. Go ahead.
Mentioning that in the C3 draft you had the other night, I had a guy in my league that drafted Andrew Luck. And I couldn't believe when I saw it.
Oh, and that was after it. That was after.
And it was like 7th or 8th round, too.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, man.
He screwed up. All right.
Yeah.
You're listening to the C3 Panthers podcast, brought to you by CarolinaCatChronicles.com. Every Tuesday night, we chop it up. We hang out, talk Panthers football. CK, it's 45 minutes in, and now I'm mentioning that every week after the games this year, the C3 Panthers podcast is going to have a post-game show. CK messaged me. He said, you should probably mention this early in the show. And 45 minutes in, I finally say, hey, every post game, after the game, we're going to have a show. And you can call in to the Cat Calls line. I'm going to download it. A lot of games. I'm going to be at a lot of games this year. So this is going to be the fun part, is that we're crashing. And Cody don't even know it. He does kind of know it. He's not here tonight, but we're crashing his house. And after the games, we're coming to Cody's house. Me and CK, we're going to be doing these post-game shows. And then I'm going to be driving back to Greenville. So there's going to be no drinking for Tony on these game days. It's going to be fun. So check out that. You can also pre-order your T-shirt, the Keep Pounding T-shirts. They'll be here this week. I'm still giving discounts till they are here. And whatever. Support the show. Subscribe. Be a part of it. Let's go to the next call.
I must have pushed refresh 973 times to get an update on this Cam Newton injury. I mean, damn.
Please.
I hope he's all right.
And they didn't say squat.
The only thing I gotta say is, if this is a season-ending injury, whew.
Look, these are the panic calls after the game, directly after the game.
What?
Yeah.
Call
He
my
said-
sister.
Hey, look, he's talking to somebody
Got
back.
this?
All right. So here, thank you for the call. And what we got there is, guys, is that in that game we saw, and this is the time to bring it up, fellas, is we've debated my friend Bill Daughtreeve on Facebook has said, like, guys, why did you talk so much shit about Cam being hurt or potentially getting hurt? He's like, the C3 podcast brought this on. You guys kept saying, they don't gonna play him, you're gonna play him, but my heart dropped into my stomach. Not just when Cam got hurt, because I didn't look at it and go, oh, that's that bad. I was like, I'm feeling good. I'm all right. He's going to be all right. He could come out. I know Cam. He winces like that all the time. Not that bad. But then, while he's over there getting checked out, freaking Luke Kuechly tackles some dude or gets some scrummed up in this, and he was grabbing his wrist. I about shit a brick then. Guys, I don't know what the benefit is at this point. If you're trying to tell us that, I'm trying to tell you that this team is better than they looked, and that these guys are better than all this, and I don't know. Are you at any point worried? I don't know. I don't even know the question. Is it about the preseason, or is it about just Luke and Cam? You know, maybe it's not the preseason that is the problem. Maybe it's just this, is that without Luke or Cam, we are fucked.
I agree with you 100%. My only thing is with the preseason, I think the preseason should be shorter. I think the starters should only play one game, and they only do play one game usually. But the thing is, even if you shorten the preseason, this game is always a game where somebody can get injured. So let me ask you this, Tony. Would you rather the Cam Newton and the Luke Kuechly injury happen in week 1 of the regular season or in week 3 of the preseason? You know, that's the only argument.
Neither, right? And I would have to say,
obviously, yeah.
I would have to say week 1.
You go out there, you're going to risk getting injured. That's all there is to it.
You're right.
Know?
I mean, like, it's just kind of one of those things. It's like a bad omen almost. Yeah. You know, it's just.
I'll say this much with regard to it, though. The way I was looking at it was one of two ways, and one way we don't want it to be is it because Cam Newton was getting older. Because, I mean, this is not an injury we've seen. He's been able to make those moves and never had this happen. And as he's getting older, obviously these little things can happen. Or is it because he hasn't been able to move pretty much all preseason? Normally he at least plays 1 or 2 seasons, preseason games prior to this, at least 1 or 2 series, and he didn't. And all of a sudden now he's thrown into the mix and he's having to go up against an actual pass rush that is coming at him full force. I think it's a matter of stretching almost. It's like if you don't stretch, you're going to pull a hammy, right? Same concept. I think he hasn't had the ability to actually be mobile. He hasn't had to worry about people hitting him until literally week 3 of the preseason.
Maybe he's just 30 years old, and that he would have never had a mid-foot sprain when he was 24. I mean, well, I don't know. I don't know if there is a way to prevent it. I guess that going back to your question, Greg, is would you rather have it in week 3 or week 1? I guess it's just going to always happen. Whether it's week 3 or week 1, we don't know which one. And if you shorten the preseason, then it may happen in week 1. And sometimes it's going to happen in week 3 of the preseason. Big shout out to William Robinson. Thank you for the contribution to the show. He said we dodged the bullet with Luck staying his senior year to study. I'm going to add on to this because everybody says it was architecture. I continue to claim that Luck was an interior design major. But Greg, going back to that, what do you think you do? Do you shorten the preseason, or do you just is what it is?
For me personally, I'd like to see this preseason shortened to two games a year and have an 18-week regular season with 2 bye weeks for each team. I think that you can set each team up where they have, because we're trying to do international games now. I think you could set each team up where they have at least 1 international game a year, and you have a bye immediately after the international game. And
that has to be. You have to have that. That's exactly right.
And then one team have a Thursday night game, and they have a bye after the Thursday night game. I can't do the math because I'm not that smart, but these guys who make the schedules can. So everybody has a Thursday night game and an international game, and then after those games, they have each of their byes.
I'm all right with that. I think we just shorten it to 2 preseason games and keep it at 16 weeks and do the 2-week byes. I mean, the 2 byes. Like, I understand that. Like, I'm okay. I'm personally okay with them extending 18 games. Like, I'm cool with that because I love football and I want to watch 2 more weeks of football. But I don't know if the players should be okay with that. Ultimately, they should want 2 byes in the season no matter what at 16 weeks.
Well,
there's plenty of games. There's plenty of games.
Well, they've been playing 16 weeks for a long time with 1 bye. So let me ask you, Tony, do you want 2 weeks of the regular season where you can't see a Panthers game?
Yeah, because I don't want to have that. I want to have that one game first. I want to have that game where I don't have, like, where my guys get better, and I'm like, oh, we're getting momentum. We're going to that. And I think the other thing too is that I want. I hate those days where there's like 12 games at 1:00.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my god.
First 4 weeks of the season.
Yeah, it's like, oh my god, there's so many games on right now. So I wish that there were 4 games instead of 8 or whatever it is. All right, let's keep going through those calls. The number's 252-228-5098. We have so many to do.
Hey guys, it's Josh from Math. Just getting in home from tonight's New England preseason game.
Oh, he was there. Oh, Josh.
And
I feel you, brother. Sucks.
I really wish I didn't have a lot to say about this game. I really wish I didn't, but I've got a bunch. This is
we're not dumping it.
Calls.
Don't worry.
So I apologize in advance.
Let it out.
It's a problem anyway. Let's start with the O-line. The ones, disappointing. Too much pressure allowed on Cam. I mean, this man has spent all off season rehabbing the shoulder, so that way we could have a hope of a long ball game, and it just wasn't there. There's pressure in his face, and it wasn't a left side, right side thing. I mean, I'm going to have to watch some more tape to definitively say, but it looked like it was just an overall problem with the O-line allowing pressure.
Mm-hmm.
And then, the end of the first quarter, Cam has to leave the game with some kind of foot or ankle injury, which, excuse me for putting it bluntly, but that's fucking bullshit. Absolute bullshit. After what happened last year and everything that we waited for and for everything we've waited to see, for that to be an outcome of a preseason game, it's bullshit. There's no other term for it. It's bullshit. And I'm sorry if people's kids, wives, whoever are listening, but it's bullshit.
Don't worry. You don't got to apologize for that, brother. You do not have to apologize. There's no wives, kids listening to this. They all agree it's bullshit. Go ahead, Greg, comment on it because there's still more to it.
Well, I was going to ask, is he advocating that we should have the starters not play any preseason games at all? Because
I think that's where he's heading.
And they play 1, this can still happen.
I think that's where he's heading. CK?
I don't think that, for the most part, I think that everybody that To be honest, we haven't played our starters all preseason at all. And I think he's asking for us to take a book out of the Rams page where they don't play their starters at all.
I think it's kind of right now in this day and age. I know it's sad, but it's like, hey, they don't tackle in freaking college anymore. So why should they even practice in the pros?
Okay.
I don't know. No, I don't know. We don't really know. I think it's just always going to be a problem, Greg. Is like that's kind of what we're talking about, is that it's always an issue. And we're always trying to move. It's kind of you're trying to hit a moving target ultimately.
Right.
And I don't know if you will. I do think is that we could be a little bit more determinate in what we're trying to accomplish in the preseason. I don't know if that's the best way of describing it. But here is like, do you really just want your guys to have some action? Then let's go ahead and do it right away. Week 1, and then file those dudes away. And then the next 3 weeks are only dudes trying to make the team. I don't know how you do it, right? Yeah. But that's the problem. It's so wishy-washy is the preseason ultimately, right?
Well, when did they determine that week 3 was the game that everybody came out, the starters came out to play? Like, you're right. Why wouldn't it be week 1? That doesn't make any sense. Why would you do it week 3? You want to have the guys who are trying to make the team come in the last 3 weeks and prove themselves the last 3 weeks. Maybe they should change that game, the dress rehearsal, to game 1.
I guess maybe they're worried that the distance between week 1 and week 1, week 1 of the preseason, week 1 of the regular season is too long. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what the magic formula is, and I don't think there is one. I think, though, being more intentional with what you're trying to accomplish in the preseason, maybe it's week 4. Maybe it's, you know what I'm saying? It's just like, here, we're going to give everybody I don't know. But right now, I don't feel like we're learning a ton in the preseason, and I hope the coaching staffs are. Let's continue with the call.
I'm livid. And I think everybody in the nation should be livid. Absolutely.
Get him,
out of
Josh.
your mind.
I'm with you, brother.
About what we saw tonight. It was bad. Beyond bad. It was trash. You guys couldn't open up a fucking lane for McCaffrey. They couldn't give Cam time. What the fuck are you doing in there then?
Boop.
What are you doing? These are your jobs. Protect the quarterback and open running lanes. And if you can't do either, then it's time to flush it. Period. Fire everybody. Find some new fucking fools. Because it was bad. And I'm just about at 3 minutes, so I'm going to hang up. I'm going to call back again.
I can't wait to hear the second call.
Quick question on that. One of the things I was thinking about is that as we continue to talk as the Panthers line was trash, that's what I saw on Twitter. Is like, and I don't think it was. I think we got beat like a drum on that one play, which made it look terrible. And I won't say it looked like fucking they were dominating either. I'm not saying they were trash, but ultimately it's like recyclables. That's what I'm probably saying. But my thing is when I'm looking at this, is that I don't even know what I was going to say. Here, let's just go to the next call.
Well, hold on real quick before you go to the next call. I do have to comment on what he said about, McCaffrey only touched the ball 4 times. 3 of them was a run, 1 was a pass.
One was a 3 for 14 yards.
Right, that's what I'm saying. He did average 5.3 yards per carry because of that carry. So, I mean, if he only did 3 carries and he averaged 5.3, even though I know 1 was a big one, I mean, every play is not going to be a big play.
It came back to me. Came back to me, Greg. Is that yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
So my question is, if we continue to talk about these O-line problems, this is what was fleeting my mind at the moment, is everybody tells me John Matsko is the best coach in the history of the world. Why is this offensive line not better?
They haven't had time to gel it, man. I mean, they've got a lot of new players and a lot of new roles and a lot of different positions. They're trying to figure out Little. They're trying to figure out Paradis. I mean, of all positions in the entire NFL, the offensive line has to be the one that gels the best because the games are won in the trenches. I don't care what anybody says. I know the game's going to throwing and a long ball, but the games are won in the trenches because even to get the long ball out there, you've got to have protection.
CK, when is Matsko an untouchable person?
I don't think anybody's untouchable under Tepper.
Agreed.
All right.
Agreed.
I don't know a way to say it, but everybody tells me he's like a savant when it comes to the offensive line. Our offensive line always stinks. So I don't know. All right, let's keep going here. Josh from Mash, what you got?
So, Josh from Mass again, guys. More thoughts on the pass game. I already touched on the O-line with the last call. Let's go to the defense. I felt like the defense looked very flat, very underwhelming, a lack of pressure. And I noticed we were running a pretty fair amount of 4-3 base defense instead of 3-4 stuff. And I get it because the Patriots tend to run a lot of that, the old shenanigans with, James White, Sony Michel, etc. Living here in Mass, I've seen it throughout the years. The names change, the scheme doesn't. So for us to not have really just felt like we didn't have much of a clue about what we were doing was disappointing. And really, between the O-line and the defense, it felt like the trenches in general were just a letdown. D-line, O-line, and for a preseason game, seeing Cam leave on, I think it was the third offensive series, maybe the fourth. I really hope this is nothing major. And whether it's Cam or anybody else back there, the O-line needs to shape up and fast. Because otherwise, the season's already a loss in my eyes. If the O-line can't give him time to make good, solid use of his newly healed shoulder and operated shoulder, if he doesn't have opportunities to use his strengths, then we're not going to go anywhere. Because let's face it, the man ain't getting no younger, and the ideology of him running around to avoid pressure, to avoid problems, look, I love Cam. I love his mobility. But as the man gets older, we can't lean on that. It cannot be a crutch. We cannot lean on that Jerry Richardson-esque idea of we have a mobile quarterback so we can get away with having a trash O-line. Okay? Yes, we got to the Super Bowl on that type of mentality, but we didn't win one on that mentality. You won't win one on that mentality. I don't care who you are. I don't care what your team is. This team tonight showed some serious deficiencies that, if not addressed, we're not going anywhere, period. We're not going to win a fucking game this year if these things don't.
Okay, it looks like cut him off. CK, you want to take that one, man?
I don't really know if you can comment on it. I think he covered a lot of the bases that I think most of the fan base felt after that game because there was so much uncertainty. I think since then, things have. Once again, we live and die day to day in this world, in the sports world that we are constantly subjected to with the news alerts and everything. But we clearly are in a position where we're emotional because our optimism is so high for our team this year.
Yeah.
If we weren't so optimistic, I don't think we would have this type of emotional reaction to a preseason game. Let's be honest.
Well, I get that. Well, where I can agree with him on the call, as far as we can't rely on Cam Newton covering up everything anymore, and the offensive line does have to step in and be better. It's one of those things. The offensive line can't be built in a year. It can't be built in 2 years. They've got to mesh together. Like I said, it's one of the most important aspects of the game for them to gel together. And as far as what he was saying was, we did in 2015 and we got the Super Bowl. You got to take everything into consideration. We played the Broncos that year, and if you go back and look at it statistically, they were like the number 6 defense of all time in the NFL. So for them to have the defense they did and us to play the way we did, I mean, you can't really put that on the offensive line in that situation. But I feel like he's right. we do need to solidify the offensive line, but it takes time. You only learn from your mistakes, and you can only get better from where you are right now. I just feel like I can tell he made this call immediately after the game.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm willing to bet if he called right now, he'd feel a little different.
Where are your expectations now for the team? This is kind of where I was at after this game. I've learned one of the great things about doing the podcast on Tuesday, we do the post game right after the game, where you can be a part of that show, calling into the Cat Calls line. The number's 252-228-5098. Plug. But after the game, we're all riled up. You know what I'm saying? We're all in our feelings. We're all in our emotions. We're some kind of way and all of this. And then by Tuesday, we're starting to put this a little bit in more perspective. Guys, really, where are you guys after this game? I think that's where it comes down to, is that after the game, people were in some kind of way.
Yeah.
And now that we see Cam Newton healthy, or not healthy, that's not the right way, as we see that Cam Newton is not, we're not worried about this being a long-term debilitating injury. Are you really? I'm not really much. This didn't move the needle a ton for me, this preseason performance. I think it did maybe for a lot of people in the 24 hours after the game. But are you guys kind of coming back to center now?
Well, I kind of agree. It didn't really change my expectations, because when I really sit down and think about it, it's a preseason game. After the game, I was irritated. I had a lot of stuff to think about, but it's very much like the Andrew Luck situation. As soon as he retired, he had fans booing him. He had people that were mad at him. And then a few days later, that narrative kind of changed, because anytime you get upset
the world
about something,
guilted everybody into it.
Huh?
The world guilted us. I actually am like, I feel bad for the booing fans. Not because they booed. I think that's jerkish. But gosh, did we make it sound like they are the worst mugs in the world?
No, I get that. But what I'm saying is, though, is immediately when it happens, anything in your life, not even when it just comes to football, anything in your life, when you're upset, you say things and do things you don't necessarily fully mean, because we're animals.
Yeah.
We run off emotion. I just feel like I said, I agree with you. I don't think it really moved the needle for me, whether this team is going to be better or worse based on what happened. But you got to remember that anytime any player goes out there, any kind of key player in a game, key position players, Luke Kuechly, Cam Newton, anybody like that, Christian McCaffrey, they're almost never going to be 100%. So you got to take that with what's going on, because I don't know. My expectations just don't change, I guess, necessarily after I see something immediately. I kind of try to take some time to sit on it and think about it and let it stew in my brain, and then I kind of make a decision on what I think about what's going on. For me, though, didn't move the needle. I still have the same confidence. We're going to win the Super Bowl this year. I said it right here. So what is it?
The last call was from Josh from Mass, right?
Yeah.
Coming back from the game. I think there might be another one. Let's see if
he had the first two. Yeah, he had those last two. So
maybe it's cool down, Josh.
I apologize for the profanity-laden.
There you go.
Messages here, but I really think after seeing what is supposed to be,
I love how we're watching the arc of his emotions.
Game 3. And Cam's got an injury.
He's coming down. It's coming down. He's been drinking.
Seeing the O-line play poorly, the D-line play poorly.
We're feeling some kind of way here.
I mean, I really hope that this is just preseason ball looking like what it is, games that don't matter. Because, my God.
All right, Josh, we're moving on. We're moving on. We're going to the next call. Let's see what you guys say. Josh from Mass again.
This is Friday.
Is this CK?
The day after.
It is.
Shut up. It's even worse. This is getting worse.
Disaster. They say it's just a sprain. Andrew Luck was supposedly just a sprain. All I'm saying is I don't
Drew
know
Luck retired.
if anybody else woke up this morning.
All right, CK, we're moving on. You're tired. You're sad.
Sorry to double down on this.
Oh, he's coming
but
back
I'm like
again.
super bummed out.
CK comes back for call number 4.
But
and then I brought him on the show.
Spots, mainly that being Brian Burns.
Let's talk about this. I like this part. I like this part of the call.
Last
CK.
night was a total
disaster. No, we're stopping it there. Let's talk about this. Bright spots. I think this is where we're missing the storyline, guys.
Yeah.
I truly think this is that you guys, I know that I put it out there saying like, oh, I wrote this in my notes and this and that. I watched the game a couple of days ago. Like I've watched it 3 times. And I'm sitting there and I'm going, yes, if you can try to not feel, for me, the Luke Kuechly messed his wrist up. And nobody's acting like it happened. But I saw it happen. I saw my man, like, it's not a big deal. It's not that big, but, like, I'm sitting there going, oh, my gosh, if anything happens to this dude, he's the Cam of the defense in so many ways. But I'm looking at that game, and I got a lot of positives coming out of it. Number one, for me, guys, is that I thought Shaq looked fantastic. Shaq Thompson, to me, was flying around out there. He's making plays. He is what we need him to be, right? I think that is a good sign for us. I continue to see our wide receivers to play okay, right? I mean, like better than okay. Every time I see it, it's the quarterback is throwing it behind him. Curtis Samuel. And then last, I would say this is that my reasons for optimism. For me, Shaq is looking fantastic. That's a big, big deal to this team going forward. Second, I think that the wide receivers look comparable. Like, I think Curtis Samuel's doing what he needs to do. He's making space. And then last, I'm actually thinking this, is McCaffrey is going to be the best back in the league. The best back in the league. He looks amazing, and I'm almost at this point comfortable with just him and Scarlett. I'm on the Scarlett bandwagon after that game. And then last, it's not even last. It should be first. Brian Burns.
Yes.
There's a lot to be excited about this, and the fact that I put off our first-round pick, he's got 4 sacks through 2 games.
Did you see the first sack he had where he actually overshot the quarterback and did a spin move to go back and got him for forced fumble? That was amazing.
Yeah.
Like, amazing. The recovery speed was great.
I'm so tired, though, of the people that continue to, like, show his highlights. Everybody, it never fails. Every single person just wants to talk about his weight. And I'm like, listen, he's just got 4 sacks in the preseason.
Right.
He's clearly got the MVP of the preseason from a defensive standpoint on any team, period. Yeah. Stop talking about his weight. He's clearly got an ability to go around that issue, and he's been able to get to the quarterback every sinal time.
Yep. He's productive. He's got production. Here, Greg, I need your opinion on this.
What's up?
My boy Bill Daughter-Reeve on Facebook, he messaged me. He said, I'm going to leave you. We were talking back and forth. He said, we're going to leave you alone in a second, but can we please call Burns Spider-Man pose the Peter Tingle?
Well, I'm totally cool with that, except the Peter Tingle does not exist anymore.
What?
Well, ever since the Sony Snap, Oh,
no, gosh. Go listen to Tell Me What Your Podcast Is, because I listen to it, and it's over my head a lot of times. I'm like, I got to learn my science fiction stuff. Not science fiction, my superhero stuff. But you guys recently had an episode on the Sony Snap, right? Or whatever it was.
We did, actually. That was last week. Shameless plug. I'll do it right now since you put me out there. At Super Civil Servants Podcast. We just did a show last week where we talked about D23, everything happening with Disney and the new Disney app coming out, Disney Plus. And then we ranked all the Marvel movies from 23 to 1 and gave our thoughts about that. It's kind of a long show, longer than normal. It's about 2 hours, 45 minutes.
Yeah.
So it's a,
that's what we're trying
to listen to.
We're trying to get in that, but tell us about the Tingle thing real quick. Why? Tell us why. It's because he says this Superman pose, the Peter Tingle. I Google it. The Peter Tingle looks funny. I was laughing, and I'm ready for it, but now we can't.
Right. Well, basically, Sony and Disney couldn't come to an agreement on on the terms for Spider-Man, because basically Sony owned Spider-Man and they were kind of renting him to Marvel or MCU Studios so that way they could use him in Avengers. But MCU Studios was only getting 5% of that revenue from the movie. So when a Spider-Man movie did $1 billion, MCU, who was doing all of the work, only got 5% of that, and they kind of got tired of it. And they
Way to go, Sony!
It never worked out.
How does Sony really own Spider-Man? I don't even understand how that's possible. It felt like he was created by Marvel.
Marvel sold off.
Right. In the early 90s, Marvel almost went bankrupt, so they sold off all their characters, the X-Men, the Fantastic Four. All these characters are made by Fox and Sony, everybody. Now they're trying to get them back because they're making a lot more money.
Disney's
and they have
about
a lot
to
of them
buy
back
them all,
now.
right?
But Spider-Man's not one of them.
Okay. All right. And they pulled the plug on. So we can't call it the Tingle. Maybe we can call it the Tingle, and we own the rights to it. We own the rights.
Right.
We're free for it. All right. Keep going through these calls right here. It's probably CK again.
No, I'm done.
Hey, C3, it's Nova Black. Y'all know I had to call in after the doggone preseason game last night.
Everybody's
Y'all
pissed.
know we got to see QB1 play. I know everybody on the show going to be talking about it, saying he got hurt. It's okay. It's football. You're going to get hurt. Nobody wants Cam hurt.
God, Nova,
but guess what?
voice of reason,
it's okay.
brother.
It ain't severe. It ain't a broken bone or nothing like that. QB1 will be back, hopefully, by week 1. But
hopefully he's going to be there,
the
buddy.
QB1, ice up, man. Trying to keep the player alive. But anyway, the guy played from when he passed the ball. I think he got some good passes, made some really good decisions. It's good to see his growth. I think what's that boy named Manhurst completely missed the block off the edge. Guy came in. Hit Cam. That was a nice tackle. I like that tackle. Nice form tackle, clean tackle, good for hitting quarterbacks. Cam being smart, knowing he could have stayed up, because a hit like that won't take Cam out. But he went down, gave himself up. Good quarterback, and it shows a lot of growth. Anyways, the rookies and stuff, what's my guy named Will Greer and Kyle Allen, those guys averaged out. Brian Burns showed up again, 2 sacks and a strip sack. Wow. But then, it's all good because he still got way more room for growth. Now, the nickel situation wasn't too bad, even though Garland didn't play. The safeties, I think the safety played well.
Nova Black is going to get a job from the Panthers.
So you know what I see. I'm trying to speed right through it. I see wide receiver play. New England guys have some really good coverage. Defensive line, little slow on the push. Took them a little while to get the motor going. They started to get the push, but as soon as they start getting real good push and stuff like that, coach took them out. But Tom Brady is Tom Brady. You guys know that, right? Okay. Put the ball where nobody can get it but his guy. And you can tell that they schemed for us a little bit, just like Buffalo, because they was getting the ball out fast, especially when we played 3-4, because our 3-4 pass rush is insane. You got about 3-4 seconds that they'll be on your ass. And that's what it looked like to me. Anyways, I got a guy that stand out, the guy that stood out the most to me. What's my man name? Jermaine Carter Jr. He was getting beat up.
He looked so much better.
Last week.
I felt bad.
Improved way better, played way better. Seen the guys getting better every game. We're going to see what he's doing this next game. I think he might make the team. Anyways, you guys keep pounding. Tell me what your thoughts on Jermaine Carter Jr. and Andre Smith, the linebackers.
I want to commentate a game with Nova Black.
Dude,
I want to watch a game with him and let's commentate this game and record it.
He just did the C3 podcast in less than 3 minutes. It took Josh 9 calls. It took CK 12 calls. Nova Black did the show in 3 minutes. He just did it. It was amazing. And out of all the things he talked about, I want to talk about Jermaine Carter Jr. Guys, last week railed on the depth of this defensive, on these linebackers, these interior linebackers. We did not get to see Shaq and them out there and doing those things. But guys, in the right situations, he looks so much better. It almost made me just say, is week 2 a bad game for him? And he's looking so much better. I think Nova Black's on it there. I'm feeling. Look, he didn't really say anything bad about this team. He actually had a little bit of praise for the Patriots. CK, is that last week I was hard on those backup linebackers, but Nova Black brings a fantastic point. Is really this is what the preseason's about. It's about growth and developing. To see that guy progress from week 2 to week 3, that's a diamond in the rough right there. When we're actually just been crying about the injuries and all the other things.
Yeah, I mean, it's always nice to see somebody step up, especially like you said. I mean, we had a poor outing against Buffalo from our backup linebackers. We learned that our depth maybe wasn't as deep as we had hoped, but to have somebody finally step up and put themselves in a position to show they're able to contribute, if in fact something happens to one of either Luke or Shaq.
Please no.
I know, but it's the reality of what we live in. We
agree.
have to think that way, and it's unfortunate. I'll tell you, the one thing nobody has brought up, in my opinion, I think Bradbury is in for a heck of a year. I mean, he
made a great play in that game too. I saw, yeah. Go ahead.
I think he's fighting for a long, contract, and I think he's going to get it. I think that he's going to have a Josh Norman type of year, because Josh Norman was under the radar. He did very good things for his first, for his rookie, his rookie deal, but it wasn't until his final bubble year when he had that breakout year, and everybody considered him a top, cornerback. So I think we're in store for a good year from him, and Dante Jackson being there for the number 2 wide receiver is not a bad deal either.
Real quick, while you're bringing up Josh Norman, I do want to say I love Dante Jackson, and I've always been a believer in Bradbury. I'm so tired of people giving Josh Norman such praise, though. Like, do people realize he had a good year, 2015, good year. He had 4 interceptions, okay, and it was a good year, this and that. But do people realize that
he's
he
not
played
in the Hall of
4
Fame.
years before that, and he only had 1 interception the 4 years he played before that? And since then, he's been kind of average. Yeah,
he's been on a bad
team. I'm so tired of people looking at Josh Norman like he is the man. He had 1 good year. That's it.
It was amazing. That is when you make that pick against the Saints. I think that one pick where he gets the Saints and that
back and catching the ball.
Guys, I mean, like,
it was pretty amazing. I'll give you that. That was a great pick.
Thank you. It was a good year. It's magical for him. But I think you're right about this. Here's the thing, though. The difference between Bradbury and Norman is that in his breakout year, Norman got a lot of picks. Yeah. That's the problem with Bradbury. Bradbury is solid. He hasn't been a weakness for us yet, and it looks like he's turning into a strength. He's gonna have to pick some balls off. That's the problem with him. It just doesn't have the numbers on interceptions. He has pass breakups. He just, the guy's got to catch the ball. This is why he's a DB. Obviously, he can't catch the ball. Whatever it is.
Numbers are pretty good against. Like if you look at
but he don't have a ton of interceptions. That's the thing is they're sexy. They're like sacks. It's like sacks. You know what I'm saying? It's like you'd be a great player, but sacks get you paid, bro.
And Dante Jackson already has, I think, more interceptions than he has.
Like his whole career in like 4 games. Yeah.
Well, here's the thing is with Bradbury, like I was saying before, this is his 4th year. And I was talking about earlier about if you can make up for special teams with turnovers, maybe his 4th year he comes out and he has a few turnovers this year, and that causes us to push us forward and have that turnover differential be better. That's the difference in a team that makes the playoffs and makes a deep run, and a team that doesn't or gets taken out in the first round like the Cowboys.
I tell you, I was a little worried about Bradbury for this, as I've been a fan of him. I've been cheering him on to be great. But as we saw this training camp unfold and we kept hearing Curtis Samuel, he's fucking electric. Nobody can stop him. Nobody stop him. I'm sitting there looking at the highlights, and Bradbury's getting burnt like toast by this dude. And that concerned me, but I think this is good news about this. Iron sharpens iron type thing. And that maybe it's not a referendum on Bradbury, but just simply Curtis Samuel being amazing. Because as I watched that Patriots game, Bradbury looked legit in there. Like he was taking care of business. And so, to me, just him getting roasted by Curtis Samuel might mean that Curtis Samuel's just roasting everybody. And everything I've seen in the preseason, guys, suggests that. You saw Allen, he throws the ball behind Curtis Samuel every time. I was watching the Patriots broadcast because I got the Game Pass, and I was just like watching the replay, and somehow it was on their broadcast. And they were like, oh, I don't know why wide receivers don't run to the mark. It was a 3rd and 10 or some shit like that, and he ran, his route was a yard short. But I'm sitting there looking at it, I was like, no, the problem wasn't his ass didn't run it to the first down marker. The problem was the quarterback threw it 2 yards behind him. He had to turn around and get it. You lead that, dude, he's going to run this sucker to the end zone. I'm starting to wonder about that. Now we're seeing James Bradbury's name in the good way, I guess.
You could even see Curtis Samuel whenever he would have the ball thrown behind him. He just kind of looked at the quarterback and threw his arms up. Like,
like Jesus Christ, that could have made everything happen.
Like if he was led the right way, that would have been a great pass. Yeah, so Cam will do that.
All right, here we go. Next call.
Hey, guys, this is Kyle again. Kind of left out a little something. I just want to speak about the team real quick. And
did we hear Kyle yet?
Like, is this team?
Have we heard him yet? Because I may have skipped his first call.
Don't know.
Here it is.
Hey, guys, what's up? This is Kyle from Skipwith, Virginia. First time caller.
Oh, nice. Thank you.
Found the podcast a few months ago, and I've just been loving everything that y'all put out.
Thanks a lot, brother.
On the podcast,
Yes,
I can actually listen to Panthers fans talk about Panthers football. But I want to talk about Trey Turner real quick. And don't get me wrong, I love Trey Turner. He's a great lineman. He's all pro. But sometimes just watching over time, watching him play, sometimes in the middle of the game, I don't know, he just like kind of spaces out, and you'll see some dumb penalty or a completely blown blocking assignment that gets Cam blown up. But if you go back to the New England game, on the play that Cam gets hurt, you see Trey Turner, he's got the guy on the ground, which is great. But then he kind of looks up and wanders off and stands around. And the guy that was on the ground, he gets up, and he's the first one to get to the ball. He's the first one to hit Cam. And I've seen stuff like that over time. But just kind of wondering if y'all see the same stuff every once in a while with Trey Turner. Like I said, I love him. He's great. But, yeah. Y'all just keep up with the podcast. I'm loving everything y'all do. Really feels like a good family community podcast of Panthers fans. And keep pounding as always.
Man, thank you for that call. First of all, is keep calling in. The number is 252-228-5098. That's exactly what we're trying to build, is just a community of fans that are hanging out, chopping up Panthers news and opinions from the fan perspective. And you know what is it? I love that call. That's a courageous call right there.
Agreed. I remember I made my first call. It kind of seemed like that too. So that takes a lot of guts, man. I appreciate him calling in. Yeah.
And then taking this is the stance, because everything that everybody tells us, you hear from GMs, whatever it is that this is the way it is. This is the way it is. We've heard that Trey Turner's fantastic, right? We paid him. We've heard he's Pro Bowl, and then there have been problems on the right side. So it takes a lot of guts also to say. And he prefaced his call like, look, I'm not trying to be like, hey, he already knew that being critical of something on this team is, you got to preface with like, I ain't got a problem with the guy. I love the guy. I hope he's doing great, but this and that. But when do you and we continue here, McCoy saying that how fantastic Trey Turner is. Trey Turner's the man. I love him. I mean, he likes superheroes. He wears glasses. He's big and fat, and he's an offensive lineman that's made the Pro Bowl. I love every bit of it. But it does raise a question about, are these guys untouchable at times? And Greg, is there any... Where do you see this at when it comes to guys that have made it? For me, Trey Turner is KK short on the defensive line. It's like, I just believe he's great no matter what.
That's a good comparison. And I kind of agree with you. I think there are some people that are untouchable on this team. Key positions, on the offense and defense. And I think when you talk about the offensive line with Trey Turner, he's been a rock for us for a long time. He may not be the best at his position, but he's solid. And everybody's going to have moments where they mess up, and everybody's going to miss tackles or miss blocks or whatever. Trey Turner's he's there for me. I don't want him to go anywhere.
CK,
so I think he's kind of untouchable.
CK, is there any concern we can kind of fall into hero worship?
I think it's happened in the past. We think about Julius Peppers. I mean, he contributed to some degree the year before last, but I mean, same concept, right? I think that it's, as a fan, we fall head over heels for certain players. Unfortunately, it doesn't always work out, and more often than not, eventually it ends up not working out. But the first thing that came to mind when you asked, is anybody untouchable? Unfortunately, there's times when the other team's defensive linemen are untouchable and they get straight to Cam. So,
well, what I ask myself is would you wear or buy their jersey? And if you would wear or buy their jersey, they should be on the team. Just hands down, because I wouldn't wear anybody's jersey.
What's your jersey would you buy right now? That's a great thing. I know exactly. I want Curtis Samuel's jersey. Boom.
I want Dante Jackson.
Great. Fantastic. CK, who you got? Who you buying?
This has been a product of debate for me here as of late. I think.
Come on, look at that faded ass jersey you're wearing right now. Shit ain't even got no numbers on it.
Faded, and that's an awesome jersey he's wearing.
Who is
it? What I'm talking about.
What are you wearing right now? You probably already told me too.
No, it's. I don't know if you're going to be able to see
No, we
here.
can't see it. There's no letters on the shit.
Just show us the number.
Look at that. Look at how struggled that shit is. Is it a Keekly jersey?
It's Kelly.
Kelly?
Custom jersey.
God damn, mug is cheap. We got to buy this mug of jersey. We got to buy
it. Fantasy League is what it is.
That's true. That
I didn't put into it. My bad.
That's right. Well, you know what? If we're going to get you a China-made jersey.
All right.
I have a fake jersey. Here's a bad story for you guys, but I don't mind wearing janky shit from China. Like, I have no problem. Like, I'll get on the Alibaba shit and be like, I'm buying this motherfucker. And I got on Alibaba 5 years ago, and we drafted Shaq Thompson. We had been talking about him on the show, and I got on Alibaba, bought this damn Shaq Thompson jersey. Right, it's beautiful. It's like it comes in, it looks good. It's all sewed. Everything looks great about it. So one of my buddies, we go out to the strip club for his birthday, hanging out, we partying, spending money, this and that. Homegirl loves my jersey too. She loves it. She's like, oh, so she's getting the money like this and that, crazy. So I come home, this and that. I'm gonna wash my shit, this and I've already washed it once. My fucking undershirt was purple. The top of my damn khaki shorts purple, like the shit bleeding like a motherfucker. I still wear that Shaq Thompson jersey like a motherfucker. I've washed it 12 times. I think I got the bleed out of it.
Hey, but call back to the last show. That stripper's name wasn't Sam Bradford, was it? Because like I said, Sam Bradford is a stripper or quarterback.
He's
gonna take your money and give you everything you think you want. And as soon as he's got your money.
All right, let's plow through these calls. Still more.
Hey guys, this is Kyle again. Kind of left out a little something.
Hey, first time,
just
second time.
About the team real quick, and I really feel like if this team can stay healthy, offense and defense, that this is definitely the most talented team we've ever had. But
I like that.
Healthy,
I feel optimistic about this.
I can really see us going deep into the postseason. So. Hopefully, injuries stay away, and we can make a good run at it this year.
Yeah.
All right, guys, keep pounding.
Agree. Next call.
What's up, C3? This is Nova Black again. What's up, Joe? What's up, Cody? What's up, Tony? You guys? Hey, I love you guys.
My
you
man.
guys don't stop and don't skip a beat, man. I'm telling
He's my dude.
you. This is the best
Nova.
kind of podcast ever. And I'm going to petition Mr. Tupper to sign you guys to some kind of contract because we need y'all. And this from a fan's perspective.
I tell you,
there are guys that's on deck, but those guys, yeah, they provide a lot of insight, but it's not like it is with us because, you know, you get all that excitement and that rush of energy and that passion and that trash talk like you guys, you know what I'm saying, playing that music like Who the Snitch and you know what I'm saying with Method Man and Redman. I love that shit. You can only get that shit from the fans. You know what I'm saying? Those guys, they gotta be politically correct. So, you know, they can't come with the fire that you guys bring. So y'all keep it
Nova
up,
Black.
keep it up. I just want to touch on the Andrew Luck situation. I am glad that dude chose to stay in college another year. I am glad we drafted Cameron Warren Newton as our fucking quarterback. Cause that dude live, eat, sleep, breathe, and shit football. Because he's not playing football. He's coaching football. He's teaching football. He's promoting football to the youth. All the way with the guys on the 7-on-7 and so on and so forth. These guys are developing. These guys are going to colleges. These guys are either getting drafted or undrafted. Look at Jerry Godwin. He was on Cam Newton 7-on-7 team. Think about that. That kid is shining. Even at special teams ace, I think he's going to make the team. But everybody talking about Cam's commitment. Everybody talking about Andrew Luck better than Cam Newton. They played that boy like he's baby white Jesus. Or, you know what I'm saying? Who just ascended from heaven into the National Football League. But if you look at it, he ain't never won a Heisman. He ain't never won an MVP. He ain't never been to a Super Bowl. You see what I'm saying? Cameron Warren Newton has done all those things, and they judge that boy with a different daggone stroke from how they judge everybody else, and it's unfair how they treat him. But I don't give a damn. I swear, I love, and I'm glad it's my quarterback. And those who got the nerve to sit there and question whether Cam's gonna fold like that boy because of the beating up after you seen what he went through last year, after you seen all or nothing, you guys, how can you call yourself true fans?
This is
Shame
the greatest call in the history
and
of the
to you
world.
guys who doubt him, I'm gonna say ice the fuck up.
Get him!
Keep pounding C3.
Get him! God, that is the best call.
Hey,
that's the best
can
call
I
in the
say
history of
this
the world.
before anything else? Can you not get him to do a hype video with him say every fucking game? Like, anyway, sorry. Like, for real. Like,
he's the best. I mean, look, and it's so natural. That's the other thing. He's not trying. Like, we didn't ask him to do that. My man is just fucking blasting mugs.
It is, yeah. Like, hey, Noah Black, at the Bat Daddy 52, man, hit me up. Let's commentate a game. We'll just record it together, man. We'll have a great time. It'll be fun. Let's do it.
My man was throwing haymakers the whole time. I love this guy. He's the best. And you know what? He's the only dude that's got an applause in the show. And he got a second applause. He got a second applause in the call.
Hi guys, it's Rich in the UK. It's been a couple of weeks. I have been listening.
Wait. Sorry, hold on a second. Did we just go from Nova Black?
What's up, C3? This is Nova Black again.
To,
what's up?
All right, who also is a fantastic person in the show. But look at that juxtaposition from Nova Black.
Hi guys, it's Rich in the UK. It's been a couple of weeks. I have been listening in. I just haven't had that much to say. Okay, pre-season. We're coming up to game 4, which is probably meaningless. Has any of the other games had any meaning? All around the NFL at the moment, people are getting overly excited about their new wonder player. But I remember going through this the last 2 years and being very excited about, you know, Mose Frazier is going to light up the league, or, you know,
hey man,
I've worked out that there's about 5 roster spots possibly up for grabs. You know, the tail end of the wide receivers, who's going to be our running back, but they're barely going to see the field. Hopefully you're going to discuss the O-line. I think we might have a bit more of a problem there than we thought. I think it's square peg, round hole. I'm really not sure about Darryl on the left and whether it's worth going with Greg Little instead.
Legitimate question.
I mean, I wonder
Trent
whether we
Williams.
do Darryl Williams as trade bait. I mean, if
look,
the rumour of both Trent Williams and Laramie Tunsil down at Miami is meant to be on the trading block, if he was, that would be well worth a look. I mean, that's a 25-year-old
I
who's
agree.
been playing
I think he's right.
very, very well. He's like their only shining light. I know we've got Greg Little and we've just, invested in that. But if it's win now or win in the next couple of years, give Tunsil 2 years and then see, trade Little, trade Tunsil. I don't know. Just throwing some thoughts around. Because Paradis went backwards and fast, but in the centre last week. But hopefully that's just teething problems of their first outing. Cam looks like he's going to be fine, so hopefully we're all right there. And we'll just see, without it being, live and meaningful, we just don't really know what's going to happen there. So yeah, that's the pre-season. Brian Burns is looking like an absolute monster. And also I'm going to shout out my countryman F.A. Abada. If you watch the two Burns sacks, Abada caused absolute havoc as the defensive end on the 3-4 front. He created, if you like, this space that Burns' agility took advantage of. That's an interesting one. I mean, if Abada looks that good, he could be the end of Butler. I don't know what's going to happen with Butler. I don't know whether he's trade bait.
I think he's gone, bro.
But he's, as everybody will tell you, he's done nothing pre-season.
Should be.
Ron clearly likes Abada and he's cheap. And I'm not saying this is a Brit because it's just an is. He's a very, very hungry 6'6", now 275-pound guy who's got a bit of pass rush. Same on thing. Anyway, I'm going to run out of time, but I'll probably
you should buy this. This shit was like an advertisement right there, and it's true.
That was a good call. That was a really good call.
Yeah. Can I, with he was mentioning Darrell Williams at left. For the life of me, I don't recall Darrell getting beat at the left. I felt like the right side was the one that was collapsing most of the time.
I think one person said this earlier. I think it was Josh from Mass. It didn't look like one person. It looked like a total collapse at times. And I think I said this earlier in the show. Is that's the good news in one way. We didn't see one guy getting beat like a drum, and all the other guys not. But you're right. I don't remember. First of all, I barely remember CK seeing Darrell Williams play.
Yeah.
Which is a good thing, because when you notice offensive linemen playing, it's a bad thing.
And that's where unfortunately, I noticed Greg Little a little bit more than I wanted to during that game. Granted, the penalties, some of one of them are a little questionable, but for the life, I don't recall Darrell Williams failing us at left. I think the issue is Josh from Mass said, is it felt like a total collapse. But I think that happens with when you have multiple holes and you have certain. I mean, it's almost like a wall falling down, right? One piece not so bad, two pieces now all of a sudden the entire wall is starting to collapse a little bit. I think it's kind of a situation like that where you have so many holes in a cup. There's only so much that each piece is going to be able to fix until they get those holes figured out. And that's what I think. I think the right side is a major issue if I had to put my guess to it.
For me, when it comes to offensive line, I think they weren't helped by the strategy of what we're trying to do. There's ways you can help the offensive line. But going back to this is the other thrust of the question goes to F.A. Obata. And ultimately, we're looking at a system that has a bunch of defensive ends / linebackers. There's kind of a gluttony almost at that position at the defensive end. If you think about it, Mario Addison on one side, then you get Bruce Irvin, you get who else we got? Mario Addison, Bruce Irvin. And we got one other veteran at that spot too.
Mario Addison, Bruce Irvin. Are you talking about Cox, Brian Cox?
No, I thought we had one other person that was experienced in. Anyway, so then you have Brian Burns and
Christian Miller.
Yep, Christian Miller. Haynes. Yeah, and Marquise Haynes. Is there kind of a gluttony at one type of position? But again, we look at this, is that while you're thinking about a gluttony at that position potentially hurting F.A. Obata, Efe Obada has been a manly man out there. He looks like he's kind of throwing his body around wildly at times. That's the only negative criticism I have about Efe, is that he just looks like this giant mug that's like, I'm just going to beast everybody, and sometimes it doesn't work out. But you go back to this, is freaking Vernon Butler, first-round pick, is missing in action. He's not even with the damn hurt, didn't fly with the team. That complicates the issue. I felt like Vernon Butler was a lock to make this team just because of the actual personnel we had. But Greg, or is there anything here? What is going on with that? And does that help FA?
Well, real quick, what you're talking about Vernon Butler, I think that was just a miss, man. I think that's going to be a guy that's on the bubble. He needs to be gone.
Was he really hurt?
I never bought that jersey.
Do you think he's really hurt? Like, they didn't even bring him with him. They didn't even bring him with him to the damn New England game.
Yeah, I don't know if he's hurt or if the team's just protecting him, but he just, I don't think he's a good fit. I don't think he is what we expected him to be. I honestly am ready to get rid of Vernon Butler. I haven't seen anything from him. It's 4 years now.
Yeah,
3 years, 4.
Yeah,
like
I mean, it's 4. We're in year 4. We're definitely in year 4. And on top of that, another one too is Rashawn Golden missing on that trip.
Yeah,
and we have not heard why that was. Was it like team decision, personal reason? So sort of strange things on that are being brought up by that call. Very interesting. Let's go to the next one. I think he's coming back for more.
Andrew Luck retired. That's a shame, isn't it? I did read a good article that apparently he didn't turn the Panthers down and always intended to do 4 years.
Oh, is this
by Andrew Luck? There's that. Yeah, it's interesting. In my line of work, I did a lot in pain and pain science, and it's now well known that pain, if there's a 3-prong attack. It's a biological, psychological, social issue. Every NFL player has a biological injury, all of them. They're all beaten up all the time. The psychological, though, ties in with the social, and I put a fairly inflammatory tweet out, actually, suggesting, I hate to say it, white privilege, but Andrew Luck's world is he can do whatever he wants now. Okay, he's a Stanford man, he's bright, his world is his oyster. On another podcast, they said he could do what he wants twice.
Yeah, Rich is the best.
That affects your psychology. You know, Andrew Luck didn't come from the streets. Andrew Luck wasn't homeless sleeping in a car. Andrew Luck knows who his dad was. Andrew Luck did not have his cousin shot, etc. He may have done, but do you know what I mean? It's the pressure for him. Football is not all there is. He's seen the bigger world. He knows the bigger world, and therefore he can step away from football and go and do something else. Thomas Davis fought back from 2 ACLs. What would happen if Cam quit now? And I mean, that's been thrown around by everybody, but we all know there'd be absolute uproar. And Cal Turd would probably start enjoying himself far too much. But I'm rather rooting for a Panthers Browns Super Bowl, just so Mayfield and Cam could go on Cal Turd's show afterwards. I think that would probably suit everybody, really. Anyway, I think that's about the only intelligent thing I have to say about that. But yeah, the psychology of Luck not wanting to deal with it is linked to the fact that he's got options in the world. It is not the be-all and end-all, and he can go and do it, whereas, you know, your concussed 340-pound lineman who's only done 3 years in the league and $2 million needs to hide that and carry on. That's really what it is. And it's not necessarily that Luck is soft, it's just why bother when you can do other things? And I think we all feel like that. Anyway, so, but the Cam Luck comparison can stop now. Anyway, that's enough rambling. 2 weeks worth of rambling, or 3 even. You do a great job, guys. The last point, if I've got time, very quickly. Maybe it's because we're close to the team and we love them and we think they're going to go 12-4, but we're not being rated very highly by anybody else. We're in the 8, 7, 9, 9, 7 area. So I hope they're all wrong. Anyway, keep pounding.
This is the most depressing call ever. Fantastic call, Rich Kingston. I love how Tin Tizzy comes in and gives the American translation for what he's trying to say. And Tin Tizzy says this.
Ain't about that life.
What he's trying to say is Andrew Luck ain't about that life. All right, Greg. What do you guys say about this? Go ahead.
Yeah, I want to touch on that real quick. What he's saying has a lot of validity to it. He is very right. Do y'all know who's Andrew Luck? What Andrew Luck's dad is doing right now?
No, but he's probably
The
rich.
XFL.
He's the commissioner of the XFL. Okay, so now I'm not talking trash about anybody. I'm not saying anything because I haven't been through this life. But when you have a life where you grow up where your father is an NFL player, and you go to Stanford, so you obviously have either talent or money or a little bit of both, and money is not a problem. This is a very simpler solution for Andrew Luck. Andrew Luck retired, and the Colts still gave him the $24 million that he owed them. Still gave that to him. So he retired as a guy.
Why did they do that?
I don't
understand that. Like we actually
Now,
feel great. That's the freakiest weird thing I've never heard of a business doing that.
No, me either. But my point is, like, the choice was easy for him because he knows that even if they didn't give him that $24 million, he still made $75 million.
The worst his ass got was that 4-second boo. Where everybody, they got the worst that happened to Luck was those 4 seconds of booing at that stadium. And then all the people came out telling everybody how people who booed were assholes.
Oh, don't worry. I'm getting my ice up pick later. We're going to hit on this.
CK, I know you want to get in there.
Yeah.
Well, first, I wanted to just point out one piece. They didn't give him $24 million or whatever that was. They just elected not to take it from him because they'd already given it to him.
Basically given it to him.
Yeah.
Well, bitch, give that shit back. That's what I would say. But sorry, my bad. Too much.
No,
Too
but
much.
I think that I think the Colts are hoping that this is just a short-term decision on his part, that he'll come back or something. But it is an interesting concept to think that his dad is the commissioner of the XFL, and what does that future really hold?
I'm willing to bet he's going to be either a player, which I doubt because of the reasons he gave that he quit, or a high executive in the XFL in the future.
If he plays in the XFL,
when you know
he's
you have that, it's
such
easy
a
to give up his
bitch.
money.
Such a bitch. I hope he plays in the XFL because then I would hate him more than I have ever hated him.
I think the Colts fans would feel like they made the right decision in booing him at that point.
They would, and I think to the larger point of what Greg was saying, and and Rich was saying too, is that there's a luxury to be able to say, you know what, I'm gonna step away.
When you come for money, it's easier.
It's so much easier to just say, like, here, I got to make it to 30 at my job. Greg, you got to make it to 30 at your job, right? You got to get to 30.
And then 75 before I retire, man.
Yeah, but you got to get to the 30. You know what I'm saying? You got to get the 30 years. And there's people that retire at 18 and they're like, you know what? I'm okay with them. It's interesting. I'm not faulting Luck for doing it. I'm not like saying he shouldn't have done it. I just know this, as I've always said, I'm on that Cam dick. Screw that Luck one. That's where I'm at. I know where I'm at. I know where my bread's buttered.
Yeah.
I know where my
B-roll on my podcast. Yeah.
He just recorded that shit. I should not have said that out loud. All right, last I do have one or two other things due. I feel, and it's so late, but I gotta ask you guys this: is Reed and look, hey, you're listening to the C3 Panthers podcast. It's time to put the plug in. The number's 252-228-5098. That's the way you can contact the podcast and be a part of the Cat Calls line. You can call in. You can follow us on Twitter at @cat_chronicles. Subscribe, all that mess. Write a review, whatever everybody else says that helps their podcast. Do it for us. I went into this tough question: is Eric Reed a dirty player?
CK, you want to take it? You want me to go first?
I'll let you go first, Greg. I have my thoughts on it, but
I think underneath it all, yes.
Oh,
dirty player.
Tough decision.
I hate saying it because I like his production on the field.
Yep.
But just watching the interview, if you, I don't know if everybody's watched this interview. There's if you go on YouTube and you look up, Eric Reed hit on who do you
Ben
hit?
Watson.
Ben Watson, yeah. You watch the interview and you can just, it looks like somebody who's just making up as he goes. And he said, well, they asked him about the Twitter feed because the whole deal was Ben Watson made a comment about him on a Twitter comment, and Eric Reed lives on Twitter based on his social status and what's going on with him and Colin Kaepernick. He lives on Twitter. And his first comment was, oh, what Twitter comment? Like, I don't even know what you're talking about. That is the biggest load of BS I've ever heard. Like, I mean, come on. And if you watch the play, dude, if you're a professional player and you've been playing that long, that guy's down. You're making the hit to be dirty. I don't care what he says. That was a dirty play. I don't like it, but he actually came out and apologized about it today, which that is kind of a admission of guilt. He says, I didn't mean to do it, but I'm going to go ahead and apologize about it a week later. He's a dirty player. I hate it because I love him being on my team. I love his production, but he's a dirty player, in my opinion.
CK?
So it's becoming harder and harder to defend.
Right.
Right. And I think after the Eagles game last year, we were able to just, write that off. Well, it wasn't too bad. And then after the Steelers game, when he went and tried to, get a nice hit on Big Ben after he went down, I mean, you almost say, oh, well, those are hard to pull up from. I mean, to be honest with you, I think it's less about, I don't know if it's necessarily a question about him being dirty or not. I just think he's playing in the NFL 20 years too late.
Yeah. Okay. I can buy that.
All right.
Yeah.
Is that they don't, I think it's a fantastic point. Is like, I think dirty is a little heavy handed sometimes.
Okay.
And that hit was late. Right. And, and that is, and he gave him a little shot. It was kind of a nudge. We heard, who's that cat that signed with the Redskins? Collins, that was a safety for the Giants.
Yeah.
We heard him say that, like, if he saw, what's his name? Dave Gettleman on the sidelines, and he'd be like, throw that ball over here, I'll give him a little nudge.
Yeah.
So when I look at the Eric Reed hit, was it a late hit? Yes. Does it deserve a penalty? Yes. Was it intentional? Probably.
No.
Right? And like the little shot, was it meant to give a concussion? So I think that's kind of like was it jerky? Is he a jerk? Or is it dirty? It's a fine line. And I think everybody's got a great points on all this. But like CK said, it becomes harder to defend at some point. But I think for me, the hard part is this. It has nothing to do with this. It's like reverse racism at this point. And maybe this is dangerous to say, but it's like I'm almost upset that he hates me. Like, it's like my man won't even be nice to me if I was in the locker room. Like, he's just like, fuck y'all. I don't want to talk to none of y'all. Like,
if in my opinion, I think he's just emotional. If you think about it, I mean, he had now granted it wasn't somebody he was going against and the hits he was making wasn't against this, but like Malcolm Jenkins in the Philadelphia game. Then you have we were losing by a pretty hefty margin against the Steelers, and so there's emotion in that, and then obviously there's emotion in this game with what Ben Watson was saying on Twitter. I mean, there's I think he just wears his heart on his sleeve, and I don't necessarily think it's a good thing, but I think dirty is a little heavy-handed.
That's right. It wasn't that bad. Like he gave him. It was a late nudge, a late shot.
Okay. Well,
but like if
let me ask you this, okay? Right. Had there not been the concussion, had he hit the player and he got the flag and everything else, and there wasn't a concussion, do you think we'd hear about it the same way?
No.
Yes.
Okay.
I do.
Oh, wow.
And two, let me ask you, if you like to drink and you go out and drink and drive and you get into an accident, are you not looked at, or you get an accident, you hurt somebody, are you not looked at worse if you do that as opposed to you going out and drinking and driving and you get away with it? Like, doesn't it change the whole, like the result of it?
So is your
everything.
point saying that as we can't look at this objectively because it's Eric Reed? Is that what your point is?
No, my point is we can't look at it objectively because of the result of what happened. Like, no matter who does that,
Right.
There was the result was the same. There was a concussion. It was a late hit.
It
obviously,
wasn't, yeah, and it's barely a concussion. That's the thing is that if my man would have decked him, he kind of just threw his body into him late. He has, that is, when it comes to dirty player, I don't think you're right. I think everybody's right. Is that I don't think it's dirty. I think he's just kind of like, yeah, he gives you the extra. He's a jerk.
Well, he walks the line.
Yeah.
I don't think he meant to give a concussion, but I think he meant to lay a late hit, and the concussion was a result he didn't want, but because he took that risk, like drinking and driving, that is what happened, and he has to accept that penalty, or has to accept that's what happened to it.
We do have to accept it. He can get suspended now if he gets another one of those later in the season. I believe there's a suspension pending. All right, we're trying to do the 50-man roster. It ain't gonna happen.
Yeah.
Just quickly,
I was prepared for it, but
yeah. Tell me this: where are the positions that you're interested when the cut time comes? CK,
I'm sorry, you locked up. What was it?
What positions are on your kind of radar when it comes cut time?
For me, it's all offense. Wide receiver, running back. I don't think we're deep enough on the defensive end as far as defensive line, cornerbacks, linebackers. I'm not looking into that because we need to be a little deeper with that, because if something happens with one of those, we're done. For me, it's wide receivers, running backs. Everywhere else, I think we need the depth. So I know we have about 6 or 7 guys on wide receiver. We have 5 guys on running back. That's just the place I would cut personally.
So all right. So last year, I think we went into the season with 2 running backs and a fullback, right? And I gotta argue, guys, is that Cody? I'm missing Cody Lashney on this show tonight because after week 3, I am on the Scarlett bandwagon.
I agree.
I think he's the dude. He looks good. He looks like a running back. Guys, are we gonna see a cut there? Obviously, we're gonna see guys that go to practice squad there, but do you carry McCaffrey, Cap, and Scarlett, or is it McCaffrey, Scarlett, and the fullback CK? Does Cap make this team?
That the running back is probably one of the more interesting of them, because I think we're going to end up letting go of multiple good football players that have the ability to contribute, but. Most people, when I read up on the projected 53-man roster, it's Christian McCaffrey, Scarlett, Cap, and then Arma. I can't see a situation where we keep more than the 2, like basically Christian. I think it's going to be a battle between Cap and Scarlett. I think one of them are gone. I don't think they're both staying, because why would you keep that many running backs when you have a running back in Curtis Samuel and a running back in DJ Moore? You literally have 5 running backs on the team already that are going to make the team. So,
very valid point.
It's going to be a tough position group.
I say I'm with Tony though. I'm a Cap guy. I can't let go of Cap, and I feel like the moment we do and put him on our practice squad and somebody picks him up, he's going to blow up, and we're going to kick ourselves in the ass for never giving him a hat and never giving him a chance. We have had 4 or 5 years with him now, where we haven't really given him a chance to play.
We missed his time. We missed his time, man. I'm on the Scarlet train now. I love Cap, but we missed his time. Now, coming back to this is that when you go to the offensive line struggles there, I don't think we're going to be cutting anybody that we suspect. Now we move to deep, like when I say suspect, is that right now we're trying to about add players to the offensive line, not cut players. So who cares about the bubble? Mugs are making it. But on the defensive line, we got a lot of studs here. I think the questions come back to this. Is Vernon Butler making this team? Is there any chance that a guy – what do you do with Mario Addison?
Keep Addison. I'd keep Addison over Butler any day of the week.
Well, I mean, I know that you would keep him over them, but at the same time, you've got Burns. Burns looks so great. I don't know what to do. Is there any concern that there could be a cut? Look, obviously, I think Brian Cox Jr. now, because of the weed charge, probably has a much harder time making it. Does F.A. Obata make this? obviously, I think F.A. Obata gets cut before Mario Addison. Where are the deep cuts or the intrigue, Cody, CK? Where are you at on the defensive line, really quickly?
I think that we're going to have a surprise cut. In my opinion, I think once we switch over to this 3-4, I think it's not going to benefit Mario Addison as much. I think the 4-3 was his bread and butter, and I think that's where he succeeded. So I think we'll see a surprise, elimination from that defense.
Burns just looks so good.
Yeah. The other piece, and I'll, move on from this, I think we'll have a surprise cut on the wide receivers as well. I don't think that the projected starters are going to be who we actually go with.
Is Graham getting? Tell us who the starters are. Tell us who they are.
Projected starters are right now DJ Samuel, Torrey Hogan, Mr. Reliable. I can't remember his name.
Right.
And then
Jarrett's right.
Yeah, and then Godwin.
That's it.
Those are those are the ones that they're suggesting. I think that there's a chance that Hogan or Torrey Smith don't make it.
Interesting. I saw Torrey Smith out there earlier before Hogan, so it suggests he's a little higher in the rankings. But you're right. Is there's some guys, if you think about it, if they really feel good at those positions, Curtis Samuel, DJ Moore, Jarrett's right. That's 3. Hogan, Torrey Smith, that's 5. That's rarely what a team that feels good about their wide receiver core does. And I'm trying to think here, guys, is ultimately comes back, damn Graham Gano. Does Graham Gano make this team? How is that possible that he doesn't, A, and B, I hope he doesn't.
Well, I wanted to touch on that because actually I wanted to bring that up earlier. I read an article earlier about Graham Gano being traded to the Bears, a possibility.
God, they would crucify him.
Well, regardless of where he gets traded, if we can get rid of him, because here's the thing: if we don't get rid of him and we put Sly on the practice squad, he can get picked up like Harrison Butker did, and we get nothing for him, But if we get rid of Gano, if we trade him for a pick next year, a 3rd round pick, a 2nd round pick, whatever, we save $2 million in cap space. So there is an incentive to get rid of an aging kicker and bring in a guy who is not missed a kick since he's been with us in a game. That shows he has the leg. He had a 55-yarder a couple weeks ago that, would have gone for 60, 63. So he's got the leg. He's got the accuracy. I think, as much as I hate to say it, I hate to say it, maybe it's time to part ways with Gano.
Don't hate to say it. I hate that dude. CK, real quick, what's harder to kick at? If you're Graham Gano and we send him his walking papers and we had our choice of where we're going to trade him, where's he more sad at? If we trade him to Tampa Bay, where kickers can't kick, or we trade him to Chicago, where kickers can't kick
there either.
God dang! I think the answer is Tampa Bay because they can't win games either.
I don't want him to go to a division rival.
Yeah. I think
he'll be 100 for 100 if he goes to the fucking Tampa Bay Buccaneers, asshole.
What you got, CK?
I was gonna say I think that Tampa Bay would definitely be the sadder of the two because I think the Bears give him a chance to at least be a contender. And if they can get their stuff right, it's not going to ever really come down to just a field goal like it did in the playoffs last year. So.
Poor Chicago. It's a tough place to kick. Tough place to kick. The only worst place to kick is Minnesota, where Zimmer will fire your ass right after. You missed that kick, and that mug fired you before he take your fucking jersey before you walk off the field. All right.
Yeah, Kai's still not assigned yet, so.
Yeah. All right. So, look, I think we've gone through about everything for the show. I think the end of the show now comes to this is I don't think there's anything left to do. Unless you guys have any other subjects, I think it's time to ice mugs up.
Let's do it. Real quick, I wore this shirt just for tonight. So, for anybody who's watching,
look at that. He got one too. You got one too. I bought that same shirt.
My beard's covering up a little bit. There you go.
I got that same shirt right there. Let's see what we got here.
That was a limited edition shirt right there.
All right. The ice up picks of the week. CK, can you start us off?
Maybe this is low hanging fruit, and it might be the complete opposite of what others feel. But I'm gonna keep it in the realm of the Panthers and go with Steve Berline.
Ooh, tell us why. I like this.
Yeah.
So basically, he came out.
He
and
went
said,
heavy-handed, didn't he?
Once again, low-hanging fruit, because I think that Greg's going to go this route too. But with Andrew Luck, the criticism that's coming around to him for making the decision he felt was best for his life, and we'll find out moving forward if it was or not. But Steve Berline came out and doubled down on the fact that it's indefensible to do what he's done. I get some of the points that he's made, but he is not doing himself any favors by going the way that he is, because I think 95% of the world is in agreement that Andrew Luck did what he needed to do for himself, his family, his future. And Steve Berline came out and said that it was a very selfish move. It's indefensible. It's not something that a good teammate would have done. And I think it's pretty interesting to see that happen like that. So,
okay.
Yeah, he went after him too. You're right, and he questioned the timing of all of this, and in some ways. So tell him what he needs to do, CK.
It needs to ice up, son.
And so and the strange thing, to give credit when it comes to Berline on this case, is that he did take the opposite position that the rest of the world took.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Is that he did not, and like you said, he doubled down. Everybody else has told us that we should cry about our booing. You know what I'm saying? Like Brandon Herbert has told us, shame on you for any asshole that makes fun of Luck quitting. Shame on you, shame on you. And I don't know. I don't feel like I should feel bad for saying, damn, my man quit quickly or whatever it is. But at the same time, he's a fucking millionaire. Like, he don't give a shit what I say. So, but Berline did to triple down on it. Everybody has guilted us, CK, for feeling bad about being critical about Andrew Luck.
Good pick. Good pick. All right. I'm going to go next if you don't mind, Tony, because mine kind of relates to somewhat of his. He is right. I'm going to hit on almost the same thing, and it has to do with Andrew Luck, but it's from a different end of the spectrum. I'm going to ice up Martellus Bennett because I don't know. I'm a big following this and actually heard about it on a show that I had listened to. I love Speak for Yourselves podcast with Jason Whitlock and Marcellus Wiley. That they really lay it out there. Like, it's great to hear the things they say and the opinions they have. But Martellus Bennett went on a Twitter rant the other day. It started about 11:02 a.m. on August 25th, where he is going off and talking about the Andrew Luck retirement. And he has a lot of really, really good points until he gets to one tweet where I agree with almost everything else he says, where people shouldn't judge this guy. We don't know what's going on in his head. He's doing his best for his family and this and that. The one tweet I don't like is at 11:10 a.m. on August 25th, where he says, football doesn't care about players. Players are starting to realize that more and more. The game gets what it needs from you, and then it moves on. Now that players are getting what they need from the game, moving on, it's a fucking up the ecosystem. Sorry. I don't like that tweet because Martellus Bennett, let me tell you something. You joined this game knowing what was going to happen. You knew it was a collision sport. You knew what you were getting into, okay? The fact that you make millions and millions of dollars to play a child's game and get to retire when you're in your mid-30s, ice the fuck up. Because I am going to work the rest of my life, probably die on my job, never making a fraction of what you have. This game is not using players. It does care about their players because I'll tell you what, when you have a surgery, when you have rehab, when you have anything else, the team takes care of you in that manner and they pay you. So don't talk about football not caring about their players. Ice up.
I agree with a lot of that perspective. I do understand the sentiment of like the callousness of the business side when it comes to involving players. But here is what you have highlighted, Greg, that is missing from the discussion. And that is they haven't talked about the fan. And the fan does this. The fan makes $30,000 a year.
If they're lucky. Yeah.
Yeah, and they pay these and look, it's like, look, we do this by our own volition. So I'm not complaining about that I pay money. But there is a certain, you forget this, is there's a ton of where your bread's buttered when it comes to even owners too, because they're so used to and accustomed to this shit working. But you got to remember this, is that so many of these games and the fans and the people that buy the products that your advertisements are for, they sit in that upper deck. And they barely can afford. They can barely afford to do that, and they do. Look, we do all this, and we can barely afford. And look, and no, I'm not crying that it costs too much and this and that. I don't want them to make too little, but we do have to remember too, at the same time, is that there are a lot of people that put a lot of shit on the line too. It might not seem as much because it's just a couple of dollars to you, but people. This is a grassroots shit. And I know that everybody loves the press box and they love the fucking $1 billion donors, but they don't pay the bills. Right. People that pay the bills are the shit the motherfuckers buying the damn Panthers t-shirt at a Walmart. Right? So just keep that in mind. So my ice up pick too, and there's so many to go to. You guys, the guys on the show will not be able to hear it. Let me see if I can get it pulled up.
Both his arm and his leg.
And I don't even know if I can hear it.
And it's off the I've seen that before. Of AJ Derby. And
I know what it is. It's this. There is no sound. Don't worry. This is the sound. If you can see it right now, there is a player. The Saints are playing the Jets, and they throw a kind of a tight end screen, and their right tackle then pushed their own tight end to the ground. Wow. He was trying to catch the ball. So not only did the Saints right tackle thought he was blocking a player, turns out he was tackling his own player trying to catch the ball. That is my ice up pick right there. You gotta love preseason football, folks.
Oh yeah.
God damn, is that this motherfucker? Everybody, even the quarterbacker was laughing at this shit. It's like, motherfucker, damn, you don't tackle your own teammates. So that's my ice up pick. We keep it simple. It's so late here. All right, you're listening to the C3 Panthers podcast. We've gone on and on and on and on about the Panthers. Every Tuesday night we do this. Cody Lashney was not here, which is strange. Send your prayers out or your feelings, your good feelings, if you ain't a prayer or whatever it is, thoughts and wishes to Cody. He's going to be back next week, he assured me. I don't care if he is or not. I just hope everything's okay for him. But the guy stepped up to the plate. CK, thank you for joining us. Tell them how they can follow you on Twitter.
Codizzle Allen.
Shit, that's the coolest fucking Twitter handle ever.
As soon as I get out of here, man.
Codizzle Allen. All right, and Greg, I need you to tell them not only your Twitter handle, but the podcast, because I need to come on. I got to talk about this. I'm coming in. Is it that close?
Well, I think it's 3 weeks, actually. Yeah, 3 weeks
right.
You're on.
I'm coming on to talk about something that's near and dear to my childhood, but I'm ready for Woo Assassins talk. I'm ready to talk about a lot of things because I need your help on this. This is where I am. My nerd problems on this, Greg, is I'm trying to get in this shit and I feel like I don't understand half of it. I'm like, man, Greg probably knows who all these people are and shit. This is just went over my head like a child. Anyway, I'm ready for it. I'm excited to talk about Ninja Turtles, but tell them where they can follow you on Twitter and your podcast, please.
All right, man. We are psyched to have you on, by the way, man. It's awesome. I can't wait to see you or hear you. But you can find me at the Bad Daddy 52 on Twitter. I have a podcast. It's called the Super Civil Servants Podcast. Me and my partner. I'm a mailman. He's a garbage man. So hence Super
Hell
Civil
yeah.
Servants.
You like men at work.
We're about 16 episodes in. We just started this up, so we're getting our feet wet. We're really starting to take some, pick up some steam here. This week we had a really good podcast, but we're on everything you want to find: Apple, Stitcher, Google. Just about anywhere you can find us. Once again, at the Super Civil Servants Podcast, you can contact us at SCS1 on Twitter, or you can email us the same thing at SCS1 on yahoo.com. But we're just rolling. Tony's going to be on our show. I can't wait. And Tony, I want to let you know, draft is Sunday night at 9:00. I know you're in my league. So
I'm ready.
Hope to see
I'm
you
ready.
there, man.
I'm ready.
But
I won the pick'em. I won Greg's pick'em when it comes to the college football, college basketball. I don't know shit about college basketball. It was awesome.
You're
awesome.
the only guy that picked Virginia.
Hell yeah! Boom, boom, boom. All right.
Seriously, check us out, y'all. I really appreciate it. It would be great to have downloads and give us feedback. Super Civil Servants Podcast. Let me know what you think.
Share it, rate it, and support. That's it. That's all. All we ask anybody to do when it comes to this podcast is subscribe, share, support. That's all. Is just send a link to a friend. That is it. Is that if that's too hard, that's kind of jerky. And that is that I retweet all of these, not because I first of all, I loved listening to them, but how hard is it? Retweet it, follow, share, subscribe, write a review, take 2 seconds out of your day to make somebody else's day great. These guys are working hard to build a name just like we are. We're trying to build Panther Nation together, and you're a part of that. You're the fantastic audience on YouTube. You guys have been tremendous. Thank you for your support and your subscribes and your donations. We'll see you next Tuesday night.
See you next Tuesday.